You ready to get started, Stanley?
He looks ready.
Stanley has gotten much more comfortable with the idea of being a podcast dog. You're a pod dog.
Bad dog.
Just a pod dog.
Always down. He was a real good dog when he hung out up at the quail store.
Mm-hmm. Those are the best times.
Yeah, I would literally. I mean, it was when I was obviously in store a lot.
Yeah,
and I would just get in the truck in the morning. He'd hop in the passenger seat, and we'd
ready to go.
Get out in the parking lot. I would walk to the parking lot with no leash. He'd come in, hang out, and I would like forget that he was at the store sometimes because he'd just be hanging out up front on the mat, just watching people go by. And sometimes people come in and are like, "Oh, I saw you had a dog." And, but yeah, it was. He would just hang out. Customers would come in, he'd greet him, but like we got really good about like him not jumping or barking. Did a little, just even a little bit of training within the first couple of days, and got really good. Yeah. And it was just we didn't really ever have to worry about him too much. Even when people were leaving, like they'd open the door, Trace had a go-to joke. Because people would be nervous, like, hey, like I want to make sure like your dog doesn't run out.
Right.
And Trace's go-to is like, he's not a fan of outdoors.
Yeah, very, very fair.
Yeah. And he would just hang out. Like you'd open the door fully wide and he's just like stand there. Yeah. Like looking out.
Yeah, that's funny. We gotta talk about like Stanley. Like you can walk Stanley without a leash, not because he doesn't want to run, but he's too scared.
Yeah. Just naturally a good boy.
Oh, he is. He's the best boy.
Stella
is, well, the problem's the gargoyle in her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can't train gargoyle.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
It's hard to, at least. It was that old meme. It was like the guy had his dog and he was like, it was like 30% loofah, like to 20% pizza crust. And it was like 50% rat dog.
That's Stella. She's at least got 5% pizza crust.
Yeah, for sure. Real crunchy pizza crust.
Yep.
Cut the top of your mouth pizza crust.
Yeah, pretty burnt.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, you want to break into the whiskey?
I sure do. Welcome everybody. Hope you've been appreciating the B-roll that Ryan films before we get going. Interested to see where it picks up this time.
We're never really sure.
No,
we just start talking.
We just start going, and Ryan's like, we look at Ryan. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've been filming for 4 minutes." All right, there you go.
Hope I didn't say anything.
Right. We are drinking our personal. I know mine. I should say my personal, but I think yours as well. I don't drink a ton of Irish whiskey. It's not typically my go-to. But I think I'm gonna do a quick rundown because I'm curious yours too. I think if I were to rank like the 4, I think I would go bourbon, Scotch, Canadian, Irish. That would be my order. What would yours be?
I think probably Canadian's about the same.
I think Canadian's underrated. I like a lot of Canadian whiskey.
I haven't found a whole lot of Canadian whiskeys that I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
Like what are some go-to Canadian whiskeys for you?
I like Pendleton. Pendleton is a good one. I like, as much as it's, a super mainstream one, especially once you kind of get into a little bit of the nicer ones. Crown Royal was a big way into whiskey for me. It was the first whiskey that I think I enjoyed on the rocks versus being like, I'm not a big, I don't like whiskey mixed drinks a ton. I like whiskey sours. Like I like whiskey and sour combinations. I don't like whiskey and sweet combinations very much. So I don't drink a lot of like old fashions. Not really my thing. Like a whiskey Coke to me, I think it brings out the worst parts of the whiskey and the worst parts of the Coke. Like I just am not a fan of that drink at all. But I think Crown was the first thing that was like, and I think it's just because it's a relatively bland, relatively like there's just nothing.
It's smooth.
Yeah, it's smooth. There's nothing crazy about it. It tastes relatively good. It goes down well on ice. And I think that was kind of like one of my first like, oh, I think I could like actually enjoy this. Then I started trying like the Crown XR and a couple of the nicer ones. I mean, you can buy $100 bottle of Crown. It's a nice bottle of whiskey, you know. I think it's looked at as a little bit like cliche just because it's Crown, you know.
Blend.
Yeah.
Most of the time, at least, right?
Yeah, I think once they start getting into their nicer ones, I think they maybe don't. Yeah. I think a decent amount of Canadian whiskeys might just be blended in general. But I'm also a big fan of Pendleton. I do like Pendleton quite a bit. I like it. They seem to have a little bit of some sweet undertones for me that I like. I like the sweetness of the whiskey. I don't like sweetness added to the whiskey like with a mixer.
I would probably put when I first started getting into whiskeys was because of you. The first ones that I really enjoyed the most were scotches. Bourbons, I have found more bourbons that I really like. I think I just didn't appreciate bourbons a whole lot right off the bat, which is probably, I mean, that's what so many people are into. So there's probably,
you have a very interesting path into whiskey compared to most people because you have bourbons and like once we're talking about, you know, like finding undertones and stuff, you know, like bourbons are traditionally a little bit sweeter, a little bit more like molassesy kind of like idea, where scotches can be very earthy and very smoky and kind of definitely a different thing. It's peatiness because of the peat moss that they actually smoke some of the kernels with, and that's how they kind of open those and get those going. Little whiskey history, like how they do that. But the moss itself leaves a very distinct flavor on the final product of the whiskey. And I am not a huge peat fan, and you like the peat a lot. So
those were some of my favorites right off the bat, the real peaty ones. Yeah. Something about the smokiness, but even the ones that aren't very peat or have like no peat to them just were smoother to me. The sweetness of bourbon just didn't sit right at first. Yeah. Now I've since become a lot more appreciative of
Would
bourbons.
Be your favorite now?
Right now, I think so. I'm more into bourbons than scotches, but scotches and bourbons have been
very close.
Close. Yeah. Irish whiskeys, I didn't like a lot of them, but have found some that I really like. I'd probably put rye up there too. I
think it's a good rye can kind of come in like a little bit. I do like the bit of the spiciness that comes from the rye whiskey. I do like a good rye.
I got a Pinhook like high proof rye that is spicy.
Oh, I bet.
Have you tried Sazerac?
Mm-hmm.
It is like 3 times spicy.
Ooh, that's
intense. Wildly spicy. It was good, but like you have to be in the mood for something spicy.
Yeah, for real.
But like rye's generally not a huge fan, but I found some that I like. I think Canadian whiskey is kind of, so I'd probably go Scotch and bourbon, probably rye's Irish, and then Canadian. But I think I just haven't found Canadian whiskeys that I like yet. I haven't found those ones.
I think that totally makes sense. I think that's probably the same thing with like the Irish. I'm just like, don't get me wrong, like Jameson's fine, but I'm not like sitting here sipping on Jameson. It's not necessarily my go-to. Yeah. Or any of the other like Irish ones. I've just never, I don't know. They've never really been necessarily my thing either. But I do like ryes. Yeah, if we're including rye as a category as well, I do like some ryes. I like those quite a bit. I like those if I'm making like a whiskey cocktail as well, because I think the flavor comes through a little bit. It's got that kind of distinct flavor to it. But what's interesting is like, you know, you saying that you liked the peaty ones and the not peaty ones. That's typically like the hardest thing to get over for people. That's typically like the toughest of the, you know, you hand somebody a log of Woolen 16 or something like that. That's like a peat monster for most people in that situation. That was one of your favorites out of like the gate, which is funny because like most people like kind of have to inch their, like you did with bourbon, most people have to inch their way up with something like that. But you were like, oh, no, I'm like, ooh, yeah, it wasn't me.
Yeah, something about it. Yeah. But you were the one that initially found the Sexton, right?
Yeah.
How'd you come across it?
Man, to be honest, I think this was kind of in the phase of I just go by places and pick stuff up and just kind of try to find things that I liked. This is probably one of the cheapest bottles that we come across of just so. Don't everybody run out and go buy it though, because I like it and it's cheap right now. It's we've seen it just in the time that we've been collecting. We've seen things that like you used to be able to just find on the shelf every day, to being gone and just like nowhere. I remember being back in Springfield one time. It's probably 5 years ago, and just at a like like you could find Blanton's at a gas station. Like legitimately you could find Blanton's at a gas station.
Yeah.
And in Missouri, for anybody who's not from Missouri, you can buy liquor at gas stations. But I have actually seen bottles of Blanton's at like gas station, and obviously liquor stores and like nice liquor stores for sure. But I remember one time, like I think I bought something that's like hilariously not allocated now because like there was 50 bottles of Blanton's and I didn't have one at the time. I was like, oh, I'll just pick one up like whenever. And I just never got around to it. And
Classic
then
mistake.
Allocated. Well, Buffalo Trace is a great example.
Yeah.
Buffalo Trace used to be, you could buy Buffalo Trace at
Anywhere.
a gas station. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, it's relatively rare, not as bad as most, but it's relatively rare. Blanton's has seemed to come back a little bit, or I'm a little bit more in the realm of being able to find it.
I think I've gotten definitely like built some more connections, like know generally where to find it a little bit more. Like if you're just getting into it, like it's kind of tough to even just find Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
But once you kind of start to get into it, it's like, and you kind of have certain avenues, it's like, okay, like you could grab a bottle when you need it.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, dude, Weller used to be that way. You used to be able to find Weller all over the place. You used to be able to find Buffalo Trace, Blanton's all over the place. Like we used to be able to find Stag Jr. Like you
bought it off the shelf. There was one time Alyssa and I went in. It was allocated to the point where you were only allowed to leave with one bottle.
Yeah.
But Alyssa and I would go in. She'd grab one and I grab one and just go to different registers.
Whatever.
And it was just right on the shelf.
Yeah.
Like
any day of the week, you go in and get it.
If that were there now, I'd be going in and out as many times as I could.
Yeah, right. Like but that's such a funny thing. So with that being said, you might like Sexton, you might not. But if for anybody who is interested in getting into whiskeys, I think this is a good segue for this. Anybody who's like, hey, I'm starting to like want to try some different whiskeys. I want something that's relatively smooth, something that kind of goes down, but something that's like a little bit more, I don't know, like not something you see everywhere, not a Crown Royal or something like that. You want to go grab something that's a little bit different. Sexton,
more unique.
Yeah, Sexton, you want to pick it up and kind of show it to the camera a little bit, maybe get it a little bit closer. So the Sexton, I think personally, as funny as this is, because when you're shooting in the dark sometimes with buying whiskey and things, I would be lying if I didn't say I didn't buy just cool bottles sometimes. And so I do personally think that this bottle is pretty cool. It's kind of a short, stubby guy. Looks like, I don't know, little kind of cylinder, octagon-y. I don't know how many sides it has, but pretty cool bottle. And Hexagon, there we go. And Ryan, clarify on that. You know, your geometry. But cool bottle. And then we broke it open one day and it is a very smooth, it kind of got a good sweetness to it, very hazelnutty, definitely got some like coffee undertones a little bit, but just a really smooth, easy drinker.
Not super high proof, like some of those, doesn't run super hot.
Yeah, you've seen us drink some stuff that's like 126 proof. This guy's going to be 90, so a lot easier, a very welcoming like first bottle for a lot of people, a great gift, and runs like $25-$30. So like you're not buying $100 bottle of whiskey to try to get into it. I do recommend it. Just don't buy all of it because, or if you do, make sure and pick me one up, and we'll be good.
Or Sexton, just give us a sponsorship for all of this.
That's what I'm talking.
We've been
about.
hyping them up. I mean, I feel like we did.
Yeah, man. I wear a Sexton hat.
Down.
Yeah, but it is very good. I will say, to me, I get a lot of, like I said, coffee, hazelnutty, vanilla, kind of those sweet kind of flavors. And I believe it's single malt, right? I don't think it's blended. For anybody that doesn't know, a single malt is essentially they make one whiskey and they put it in barrels. They age it for the amount of time that they're going to. I think it says right on the front, doesn't it?
Irish whiskey distilled in copper pots, 80 proof.
Keep turning it. Let me see. Single malt, right under Sexton.
Huh.
The big letters. But
it's like kind of in cursive. I can't read cursive.
But it is so single malt versus like a blended whiskey, just like it kind of sounds. Single malt is they just make a whiskey and they put it in barrels, and that's kind of what they do. Blended whiskey, it's kind of a unique thing, is legitimately blended. They're going to take different whiskeys, some that they make, sometimes some that they don't, and they have like a master mixer and master blender, I guess would be the way to put it. And they will blend those different whiskeys together to kind of make the flavor profile that they want. So I typically like, it's not that there's anything wrong with blended, but I do typically like single malts better.
It's a little bit more like, I don't know if consistency, but
I know
like
what you mean though. There's something to it.
Yeah, it's like you know, you didn't just like, I feel like if you're blending them, like if you have one batch of, because like even one batch to the next on the exact same thing can be a decent amount different.
Yeah.
So if you have a number of different batches, a little bit different, it's like the blend can end up being even more different. It's just hard to put your finger on what makes it different, in my opinion.
I'm just a bougie boy, and I like it. The single malts. I feel cooler.
It is definitely kind of a purist thing.
Yeah.
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 Well, we've been talking about this a lot.
Well, cheers. Episode 6, getting going. I'll move mine over.
Got the table for Logan.
It's good. I like it.
We were definitely surprised the first time that we tried it.
Yeah.
How like sweet, but not overly sweet. It can be, sometimes it can be too sweet. Like you got to be in the mood for a little something smoother, sweeter, but the notes on it are really like, they're some of my favorites.
Yeah.
So
I specifically requested a smoother, sweeter one tonight, or just something not super high proof. We did have a wedding this weekend, and we indulged. It was a very fun wedding, though. This is the second wedding that I've been to recently that had somebody hand rolling cigars at the wedding, which is, dude, super cool. Super, super cool. Like, it's literally just a guy, and he's just literally rolling cigars. He's got like this whole thing set up. He cuts it and lights it for you. Like, you
were nice enough to snag one for me at the first one that you're at, and it had this like little like they like tied a little knot at the end of it.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, you see, like, you know, they can kind of make it as long or short as they want. You know, obviously they're rolling it, but yeah, they'll do it and they'll have like a kind of a wet end and they'll like tie a knot, and like it's pretty cool, man.
It would be cool to watch.
This one, there was definitely quite a few bit more people interested, so I just grabbed the one. But it's very cool. It's super cool deal. Like just in general, all the groomsmen went out and we smoked a cigar together, and super cool.
Nothing like a good cigar at a wedding,
dude. Yeah. It keeps you off the dance floor for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, my knees were hurting in those shoes all day. You know, when you're in a wedding too, like, don't get me wrong, this is one of the best weddings that I've been to in a while. Very fun, very, very fun. Shout out Frank and Savannah for a super dope wedding. But you know, like if you're in the bridal party, or like, you know, you're one of the groomsmen or whatever, like you're there all day long. Like, you know, most people showed up at like, I want to say 5:15. Like if not, probably 5:15, because I think everything started at like 5:30. And like we were there at 1:00. And so it's like, you know, that's not like a ton of time, but when it's like you're there, you put a suit on, you know, like everybody gets dressed, you take pictures, and then you're just like kind of hanging out. And we'd all gone out the night before and stuff, and so we were watching football and falling asleep, like you know, just trying to kind of keep moving and stuff. But yeah, you're there all day, and so it's like you're just kind of
Dude, those big ones like that are one of the bigger ones that I was involved in was Tanner Davis. His wedding was 2 years ago. No, was it 2 years ago? Maybe it was a year ago. Either way, he's the guy that went to middle school, high school, was fraternity brothers with him in college. Like, I've just been friends for a long, long time. He does video editing. He just did the Sample Triad promo video.
Super dope.
Super cool. Like, he does that professionally. He worked at Strange Music in Kansas City for a while.
Yeah.
But him and his wife had a really big wedding, like all done. Yeah. The girls were like starting to get ready at like 6:00 in the morning.
Yeah, it's an all day deal.
And it was an afternoon wedding, like evening reception, like whole day. And the guys were we started getting ready like late morning. And I just remember like, okay, yeah, like putting our suits on, have some drinks, having some fun, get to the venue. And I just remember being like, I need an energy drink by the time the reception was about to start. And there was like a girl running around like helping like one of like the someone working
day of planners or whatever,
yeah,
event staff.
It was like a planner assistant or something like that. And she was like, "Hey, do the guys need anything?" I'm like, "I would do so much for an energy drink right now." And she spent like an hour, like she probably didn't spend an hour, but it was like an hour. She came back like right as we're about to like walk out for the reception. She like brought a Red Bull, and I'm like, gosh,
oh, dude, for real though, like it's needed. Yeah. Well, Laurel and I were talking about, things that we would do, at our wedding or whatever that would look like. And one of them would be during like the cocktail hour and stuff. Is having like a coffee bar or something like that. Like I would have at that point I would kill for that, or even just like
just a shot of espresso,
something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to keep it going, because it's like it ends up being rough. But a beautiful wedding, awesome. Met a lot of the groomsmen for the first time. Super cool people. So we had a lot of fun.
Nice.
Really good weekend down in Dallas. So no complaints. But I potentially overindulged a little bit. Not too bad yesterday. I only had a couple drinks last night, but the night before it was really cool. We went to this place called the Bodega, which is just like a little convenience store, like on the strip of things, and just whatever, you'd find anything, and whenever you buy something, they give you a receipt, and the receipt's got a code on it, and then they've got a walk-in freezer door that's got like a keypad, and you type in the code on the bottom of your receipt, you open it up, and it's a nightclub. Yeah, super cool.
Dang.
Yeah. So we it was wedding, and some people in the super generous people. Everyone was. That was one of the cool things, was seeing like everyone was so friendly. So like people were just like, I didn't like, not even on purpose. Like I didn't pay for a drink all weekend, and I was actively trying to. I was actively trying to buy my drinks and buy other drinks, and people would be like, "Nope, I got it," or just like throw cash at the bartender, and I'd be like, "Oh fuck, okay." Like,
neat.
Guess so super nice, super cool people, but
fun people to be around.
They rented out a space and got bottle service, and it was like 3 bottles for bottle service.
You have to drink so much, so it's like, all right, I guess we better start drinking.
Oh yeah, and then as people were drinking, that's when things
starts to snowball. And you gain momentum.
Sure. It was like if we had a bottle of Grey Goose and 2 bottles of Don Julio, and I was reaching for. I don't drink a ton of vodka, so I was reaching for the Don Julio, and it's like at the beginning it's like, oh, people pouring it, orange juice and soda, whatever, just drinking on the rocks, and by the end of it, it's like people pouring the bottle in people's mouths, and you're like, all right, like cool, here we go.
That 1942?
Not this time.
Gee, okay,
yeah, just regular, just right. Well, that was an interesting thing, because I did bring up, we were at we went to Miami. I went with Trace and Sadie a number of years ago, and we were at a club in Miami, and super cool place, and we didn't have to wait. It was like we knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody kind of deal, and we got right in. It was the club's called 11, so anybody who knows, it's a wild place, but we didn't have to wait in line, and we went and got sat at this table that was like doing bottle service, and it was, dude, I can't even imagine. It was, the bottle service was Don Julio 1942. Kevin, you got a bottle over there, don't you have 42?
Yeah, you got that for me.
Yeah, you want to pull it up real quick, show the camera? So this was a gift I got for Kevin.
Very, very nice tequila.
Yeah, very, very nice tequila, this Don Julio 1942.
I haven't drank much of it because I'm saving it.
Yeah, but it's not cheap, even retail, not cheap. And they were doing bottle service, which anybody who doesn't know bottle service, when I worked at Boogie, we would buy $3 bottles of champagne from like our wholesaler, and bottle service for those was $65, and that's in Springfield, Missouri, for a $3 bottle of champagne.
Dude, I've seen bottle service. Well, sorry, you go.
No, you're good.
I've seen bottle service. I think there was. We were in Dallas. I can't remember the clubs that we went to, but for a bachelor party, there was bottles going, like a bottle was like $500.
Yeah, the bottle of Grey Goose and the bottles of Don Julio were $300 each, which those are $40 bottles,
right?
Like all day long, those are $40 bottles, which that just shows you the markup, and that's in Dallas and Springfield, Missouri, let alone 11, which is like a crazy club in Miami. Like the markup's like insane, and they were doing bottles of Don Julio 1942, and their bottle service had 10 bottles of Don Julio 1942. Yeah, 10 bottles of it. I remember talking to the server, and I think I was, I had indulged a little that night too. But I think he was saying that each bottle was going for like $2,000 or something. It was like $1,000 or $2,000 bottles. But this was an interesting thing because a lot of the guys that I was hanging out with work like pretty honestly high up in like the cannabis industry. That's what my buddy who's the groom, that's the industry that he works in, and super cool guys, and they make good money and they travel all over, and they, a couple of them live in, like LA or New York and stuff. And so, they're coming here and doing bottle service, and they're like, this would be $6,000 or whatever, and it's only cost me $300. But
cost of living in Oklahoma ain't bad.
No, yeah, or in Texas on that. Our bottle service price aren't bad for anybody wanting to move out here. But the interesting thing, and I didn't even think about it this way, but especially dependent upon the industry that you work in, like Frank brought this up. My buddy Frank, he was like, what typically happens is because this will make this story make more sense. We start like looking around because we don't even know whose bottle service this is. We just have a friend who knows whoever has this bottle service, and so we're like talking to her, and she's like, oh, he's not here. And we're like, what do you mean he's not here? And he's like, oh, yeah, no, he's not here. Like, he doesn't really come that often. He comes every once in a while, but like, whatever. Obviously, dude's a millionaire. But she's like, oh, but this is his friend, and his friend has a card, and he's allowed to essentially spend whatever he wants on it at stuff like this. But I was talking to Frank, and he was like, oh, they just write it off as a business expense. Like, it's essentially a work-related like entertainment like kind of deal. And he was like, because he was asking and we were talking about it, we're like, that dude easily spent, because we weren't there the whole time, they were there before us and they were there after us, still drinking like 42 all night. And it was like, they could have easily spent $50,000. And Frank's well, like, yeah, but you're making a couple $1 million a year, like $50,000 is like nothing crazy. You can pay that in taxes anyway. If you can use it as a write-off, use it as a write-off. And it's like, you're either paying Uncle Sam or like, yeah, if it's like, if I'm going to spend $50,000 is either going to the government, or $50,000 can be my friends can go have like the night of their life with some of their friends. Like, well, whatever, like, go for it, guys. Like, right. Crazy.
Yeah. I think that, I
don't you do that.
So
just kidding.
We go out.
I'm just kidding.
We don't do that. We don't do 1942 bottle service, but we do
trips to Miami.
We'll get there. But I think like meals and entertainment you used to be able to write that off more than you can now. I think you can, it's maybe like 50%. I can't remember. Yeah. I remember whenever we're doing our taxes once a year. But yeah, it's you can't write it off as much as you used to be able to.
Yeah. I'm curious, is that, and you would know better than I would, this is a genuine question, is that dependent upon the industry, or is that just like everyone? Like if you work in a specific industry where like meals and entertainment is a big part of like how you run your business, like I wonder if, and it could be as easy as no, but like I wonder if that is like something where they have more of the exception, or maybe they file something differently.
It might be. Yeah, it was a pretty basic explanation. Like, I typically will sit down with our accountant once a year and just kind of go through things. And I remember learning, like, we have a line on our financials that's, meals and entertainment. Yep. There was one year it was like, hey, we're only going to be able to write this off 50%. I think it either went from 50% to 0 or from 100 to 50%. I can't remember, but it went down, and it sounded like that was a general like blanket rule, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
like maybe if you work in medical sales or something like that, where that's very
what I was
common.
Thinking was medical sales. Like if you're in device sales or like pharmaceutical sales, where it's like 99% of what everybody that I know that does that, it's like they have, depending upon the company too, where it's like they get a card where it's like, there was a guy on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day that I was listening to.
Listen to that.
That was a crazy one, by the way. Not to talk about our competitors, but that was a crazy one. But he was like talking, what is it, $17,000 a month or something like that.
Oh my.
And he's like, and he's not even he's in Denton, Texas or something like that. Like he wasn't even like a big area. It's like, that's crazy.
So
money.
My sister's worked in event planning, and she's changed her jobs a couple of times. But she was working for a company called, I hope I'm not giving away too much information, because she was like involved in like bigger companies, but worked for a company, Cvent, that was contracted by BlackRock in New York City.
Yeah, I've heard of BlackRock.
And she would, I don't know if, like what kind of expense account she had, but she would apparently had just like some immaculate dinners because she was just taking clients out or doing entertaining. And expense accounts can get crazy.
Yeah. Well, even at the hospital, like one of the big ones that we had was, and like understandable, but it's like when the our VP of like patient transport would come, he or the president of patient transport would come, like either one of them. One of the big ones was, it's like they come once, twice a year, and it's like, you know, they take everybody out to like a really, really like Mahogany or something like really nice, and they're gonna spend, like, we went one time and it was like, you know, everyone got steak and appetizers, and we went through like 6 bottles of wine, and it's like, and those are, you know, can be hundreds of dollars a piece just on the wine alone. And it's like, you know, it's a boatload. And so, but it's one of those things where for them, it's like, oh, this is our, you know, like how we have fun with, you know, and congratulate the people who are doing well. And it's like, sure, they come to us twice a year, but it's like, there's 200 accounts across the country that they're consistently at different ones like all the time. And I'm like, you know, he easily spent, every time he came out with us, like there's, you know, a decent amount of us going, like 12 to 15 of us going. And it's like, you can easily spend $4,000 or $5,000 in a night, like somewhere like that. Like, I don't know, that might be an exaggeration, but you can spend a boatload of money like easily at places like that. And so I wonder, even in that situation where it's like, you know, that's a big part of their job is to like expense. This is an expense because they're just trying to celebrate part of, you know, or like congratulate the team. It's kind of like a bonding thing. Yeah. So I'm curious. Yeah. I don't know.
Honestly, even if it's not a write-off, I think it's worth it for a company to do. Yeah. Like, because we do that. We try and do something once a month. Yeah. And
always so much fun.
It's like for an individual, like if it's like I were having to pay for that, or if like it was like, hey, Thomas, it's your turn to cover everybody when we go out to dinner at the company. It's like, that could get expensive. But for a company, it's such a small fraction. That's something crazy. And it's super, super worth it.
Ryan's got a comment.
Thomas always says it's on him after every event.
I have been known, especially if I have had a couple cocktails, to be to very much ask for the check myself so that I can put my company card. Yeah. Be like, I got this. And I pull out my company card.
Do you have a company card, Ryan?
I do.
You could do the same thing.
Yeah.
You could be the big shot.
I don't want to take Thomas's fire there.
Thank you. That's honestly all I have.
That's funny. When we went to Top Golf like a few weeks ago, it was I think we hadn't put like a card on file, but it was like we had spots reserved, so they weren't really worried about us like dipping or anything. And we went to go pay. It was like, yeah, you already have a card on file. And like the last 4 digits were like, we didn't recognize them. We're like, maybe like someone paid for one of their own drinks, or like, we don't want to put the whole bill on like someone's girlfriend that's like not expecting it. So come to find out, it was your card.
Oh yeah.
We didn't charge your card.
Oh
yeah. So we took your glory there. I had Alyssa and I went out to dinner on Saturday night, date night, and
I saw pictures.
Yeah, we I had probably one of the most famous experiences that I've ever had personally.
Like you being famous, or you came across somebody famous?
Me being famous.
Ryan's got a skeptical face. Ryan, show the camera your face.
So we went to a restaurant, I think it's newer, called Emma L's. It's in Yukon, and only about 15 minutes from us because we're just hop right on the highway, and the restaurant is just right off the highway in Yukon, and it's Italian.
I've heard of this place, actually.
It was really good food.
Yeah. I remember seeing a post about it on like some Oklahoma City like Instagram, like new places coming to town, and they posted about it. It looked good.
So we're sitting there, like we had reservations. We went out at 6, so it wasn't like super late or anything. But we're sitting there, got a bottle of wine, some appetizers. You know, food's about to come out, and what I assume is the manager came over, and he actually was the one that brought us our food. And he's like, "Hey, can I get you guys any like Parmesan or?"
Wow, you are famous.
Yep.
Offered Parmesan and everything.
I have.
What next? Fresh cracked black pepper? My God.
I'm not that famous yet. But he like, I was like, yeah, I'll take a little Parmesan. He's like, oh, by the way, big fan of the unsuccessful entrepreneur.
Oh,
and I was like, what?
That's super. And you didn't know who he was?
I at first didn't recognize him. He is a customer and we're friends on Facebook.
Yeah, no,
so,
that makes sense.
yeah.
That makes sense.
But at the moment I was like, dang, I'm famous.
That's so funny. Dude, that will happen to me too sometimes where it's like, I'll come across somebody and it's like, we just talk to a lot of people and it's like, it takes a second. I'm like, oh, like,
yeah,
Bobby, like what's up? You know, and it's like, that's cool. Yeah, that's very neat though.
So I think it's someone that I didn't know. I don't know, like really, like really well.
He listened. So shout out to him. That was super cool.
But like he like introduced himself because I think he knew like we probably hadn't seen each other in maybe like a couple of years. It's like we've probably seen each other like in the store a handful of times and just but like haven't built like a super like recognizable relationship or anything. So like he introduced himself and I was like, dang, like and like Alyssa's like, is that a customer? I'm like, probably.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? Like
one of these days something like that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
that, like not even a customer. It's just
well,
like,
hey, you made him feel good.
Yeah.
You made Kevin feel real good.
Yeah, that man. Shout out to James.
Yeah.
And Emma L's good food, and they make you feel great.
Yeah.
So,
tell you what,
I'll go back if you call me, if you treat me like I'm famous again.
Well, dang, maybe I need to stop by.
He knew you. It was so he knew the post, and I was like, hey man, been listening to the podcast, and he's like, no, actually not.
Oh.
And he kind of started asking about it, and I brought him like, Thomas, and he's like, yeah, big guy with tattoos, dark hair.
That's me.
Yeah, he knew you.
Dang.
I was like, yeah, it's me and him. We have a guest every other time. So
yeah. That was not to have us sound boastful in this situation, but I had one time I was getting a haircut and the guy I want to say it was the guy in front that got his haircut right before me and the guy who got his haircut right after me. I think it was the guy who got his haircut right after me because I was leaving. It was at the Edmond location. So it's like kind of at the, where you kind of like pay a little bit away from like where the barber's chair is.
Yeah.
And I was standing up there like finishing up paying. And the guy who sat down, and this is forever ago, the guy who sat down was like, hey, is that one of the Triad guys? And I was like, oh shit.
Hey.
That was like, that's pretty cool.
One of my favorite ones is I was working a shift at Quail. This was a couple of years ago. And I was on shift with Anthony. And there was a couple that came in and I was checking them out, helping them and everything. And Anthony's like restocking and helping other customers. And eventually like they're kind of like looking over at Anthony.
Yeah.
And then he goes in the back and I'm like, hey, is that one of the Let's Work models?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it is.
Dang. Moose is famous. Moose is famous.
I mean, that puts even Alfonso on a pedestal there.
What.
And Anthony has a funny attitude about it. He's like, that's my roommate.
That's so funny. Shout out Moose for being recognized as a model. Good for him. Good for him. That's dope.
I played into. I was like, it is. Yeah. Believe it or not, he accepted a job here.
Yeah.
We're so lucky to have. We are lucky to have him.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Dang, that's funny. Ryan, you ever get recognized?
Not really.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, there was one probably a month ago. One of the bike shop owners I'm friends with, he was talking to his daughter's boyfriend, and he's like, where do you get your subs at? And the kid says, I go to Try. And he's like, oh, no way. I know the guy at Try. And he's like, the one that runs their social media. He's like, oh, you mean Ryan?
Dope.
And I'm like, I don't know if I've ever helped the guy.
Yeah.
If I have, awesome.
Yeah.
But just through social media and stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of caught on to.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's a big part of it. I mean, obviously, like you running social media, you obviously owning the place. I think the thing that's honestly like been like where I get recognized the most is because I do a decent amount of videos for us on social media. And so like, I think it's just like my face sometimes get plastered a little bit more than other people. But I think I think it's a cool testament to just how much people appreciate what we do, because like, if not, they wouldn't give a shit, you know, we'd just be some other dude.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's yeah, I mean, obviously we're sitting here kind of like giggling like schoolgirls about being recognized.
I mean, come on.
But it's cool how many people at the store are willing to be recognized and be part of it. And it's funny. A lot of new employees will really go through that of, because we typically, when they, get hired on and start their training, we'll make a post. When they pass their test and start working in the store, they'll get posted. When they get their CNC, their post, and they start to get implemented into videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, it'll be, they'll only be like a month or two in, and people will come up to them while they're, working in the store, like, oh, you're the new guy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, how do you know me already?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a funny thing that almost like I've heard from almost every new person that's just like, I feel like everybody already knows me. Like,
I feel like the company as a whole, but even especially Ryan specifically has done is like we have a very genuine social media following. Like we don't, I think we get a ton of interaction on all of our stuff. Like people are actually interested in like meeting the new people and seeing that we've hired, or like I know you just posted recently the picture of all of us and people commenting like, I can't believe how big the team has gotten, which I can't believe how big the team has gotten. We're going to have to move where we take pictures because you just see Christian like hiding in the back. You can barely see Christian and Ian. They're just kind of like back there,
Yeah.
But that's like, I mean, that's part of, we just continue to expand and it's just going to keep going. Oh, we'll keep doing what we're doing.
I'm going to have to get a drone to take the team picture.
Yeah, we're going to, but hey, man, it's a crazy thing because, we legitimately struggled to kind of like fit in that area where it made sense. Like if we were to add 5 more people, like I don't know if we could take a picture there in that same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we're stuffed in that photo right now.
It'll have to be a warehouse picture or something. Yeah. We don't have a warehouse, but when we have a warehouse, it'll be warehouse pictures.
When we have a warehouse, we'll have enough people that will need it.
For real,
need the warehouse for the picture.
Amen. That's crazy.
Yeah,
but it's super cool. I think that's a super neat thing. Again, I think it's a really solid testament to just the personal relationships that we've built with people. Because otherwise, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
There's a couple dudes, like people doing stuff, whatever.
Yeah,
but it is cool. It's cool when people make us feel special. So keep doing that. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
do it more.
It's not why we do things, but it is.
That's why I do it. I'm just kidding.
Not why we're here, not why we're doing what we're doing, but it does make you feel special when you have stuff
right.
Like that.
Well, and I think like the attitude to have about it, which is the cool that we do, is it's like it's not that we are cool, it's that the store and what we what we do and what everybody does is cool.
I mean, that was a big goal right from the get-go, was to be as full disclosure about what we're doing as possible. Like that's from top to bottom, where we try and be as full disclosure as possible with the company. Like obviously there's certain information like things that aren't set in stone. And, if we're promoting, hey, we're going to do this, but it never actually comes to fruition. Like we've learned the hard way that we've even tried to be full disclosure about those things. And when they don't come to fruition, there's some backlash and things just don't go right. And it's like, okay, maybe there's certain things, but like as much as we possibly can, we put on social media and just be as transparent as possible with. And obviously that's a big thing in supplements these days, is everybody looks for full disclosure labels, what ingredients does it have? Segue. And what doses are each ingredient at. But even from a, how we run the company, like I know I've even made, I think I've made posts about like how the employees, like we don't run a commission system. We run off a profit sharing system.
Yeah. We've talked about that a ton.
Yeah. It's everyone we hire on gets posted. We, do as much as we can, like to show the back end of things of Triad, so you can truly know the company that you're shopping with.
Yeah. Right. That's an interesting thing. You ever been recognized in a negative way? I have recently.
Really? Do I know this story?
Yes.
Why can't I think of
a week before Saturday?
A week before Saturday?
At the event.
Oh. Yeah.
You never been recognized like that?
No, I have there's some people out there that there's a select few people that probably just hate my guts.
Yeah.
For potentially good reasons.
I'd say there's probably 5 of them, and I think there's 3 in the house right now. Wait a second. Ryan's not one of them.
I've never had anyone be rude to my face in that way.
Yeah. That's nice.
You segueing into this story?
No, we don't have to. I mean, I have, this is part of it, it's part of the tax.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think it's a very interesting thing because I do think more than anything, it touches on kind of what we talked about last week whenever Kenny was here, where, we're big believers on, like, I don't know. I almost embrace I think competition's a tough word because like I think that we all wholeheartedly just appreciate supplementation, people getting healthier, the industry growing, like people having options. I think a big thing for us, we even like when it comes to competitors, I know that we've been super careful to not overlap a ton on carrying the same products. Like we're not like, you know, if this is a product that works well for this supplement store, it doesn't have to be our job to take that product from them and, you know, sell it in the own. So
we can find our own avenues.
Literally, we can find our own avenues. Like sometimes there's an overlap because it just happens. You have to have certain things. You can't be a supplement store without ISO 100 right now. It doesn't work that way.
Right. We, especially early on when we were the new kids on the block, we came in with a lot of respect. We got to know all the, you know, as many existing store owners as we could.
Yeah.
And, you know, tried not to sample our market in their areas.
Yeah.
We tried not to carry their products as much as we could,
right.
Still, you know, be a well-rounded store ourselves.
There's no reason to. It's our goal in owning supplement stores, or you owning supplement stores, is not to close the other supplement stores around. It is to continue to promote health and supplementation and the appropriate use of things when it comes to health avenues in Oklahoma City, in the metro. Like we were here to make it a better place, not make competition go away, you know. And it's like, sure, at times like places close, like shoot, how many times have we almost closed? Like it's, you know, there's definitely times that stuff happens.
Vincent had a really good outlook on this. I remember when we were first getting going and we had some competition that I think they opened up around the same time we did. We had a couple, I think there was a couple.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, like your natural tendency is to look at them like competition, but
enemy.
Yeah, and you look at them like an enemy, and at the same time, you know, we're always cordial and professional as professional as possible, and don't do anything that's, you know, immoral. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, man, I want to do anything I can to beat them.
Oh, sure.
But then it's like, man, like how much does that suck to have a business go under? Like obviously if ours went under, it would be devastating.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, man, I don't want to be necessarily the one responsible for that. And and Vincent had the outlook of like, man, do you believe that we do things better? We provide a better service and better products than our competition. It's like, well, yeah. He's like, well, don't you think the people deserve that?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, it's true. And that's what's really helped me be the mindset of like, just do the best that we can, and whatever happens.
Right. What did we talk about last podcast? Like do our best and just nothing else. We don't need to be doing the kind bar and like, what's the other bar called?
Cliff Bar
ads. You know what I mean? It's not about, you know, like we're just trying to do the best that we can. I mean, to the point where, especially because supplementation and supplement stores a lot of times work with like exclusivity, especially large brands will work with certain places and they'll be exclusive to there will be GNC exclusive items. And that's one of the big things that will happen at Norman specifically. I can speak to. I know what happens at Quail. I've done it at Quail, and will happen in Yukon as well. Is like I've had someone come in and ask for a very specific product that we don't carry, and almost my first question is always like, "Hey man, you know there is some exclusivity with that, with like so and so, like whoever. Are you wanting that product specifically, or are you wanting something similar? Like, would you be cool with something similar?" And they're like, "Nope, I'm looking for that product." Or they're like, "Nah, man, that one just looked cool. I'm happy to take it." And I'm like, "Yeah, let me look up the formula. Let's get you something similar." Like, we've got options, right, that are going to be in that same ballpark.
And when you go over the formula, sometimes you find, hey, that formula might not actually be the best for you.
Right. But there's also people who come in who are like, I am specifically looking for this brand, this product, this. And it's like, oh man, unfortunately, I don't have it. But I know a big one can be a lot of Ghost products getting sold at like GNC. And so like Ghost is a very popular brand. It's not one that we're able to currently carry besides their drinks. Like it's a popular thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I have happily, it would take, I don't know how many hands to count, but a number of them to count how many times someone has come in and specifically wanted X Ghost product. And I'm just like, man, unfortunately, like I just can't provide that for you. So like I will call GNC down the street and be like, I know the guys who work there because like I've talked to them enough times and be like, hey brother, do you have this in stock? And they'll be like, yes or no. I'll be like, cool, what flavors do you have? And I'll be like, you know, this, and this. And they'll be like, hey buddy, you know, they've got, you know, blue raspberry and they've got rocket pop. Which one do you want me to have them put behind the counter? And it's like, again, you know, a big thing for us is like we genuinely just want people to get what they're looking for and like what they're going to be happy with. And I don't have a problem with that. And it's like, and what do I care if GNC sells we don't have it. Like, I don't view them as competition. I view them as just more people doing the same thing and with different stuff. Like, it's not a big deal.
There definitely is like a polarized, like people that, come in for like, I just want to pre-workout. I've heard about this one. And people that are like, I want this one. And those people, it's like, dude, if you gave them something else, they'd probably leave pretty unhappy.
Right.
But there's sometimes people are like, man, I don't want to go to another place. Like, dude, we can find a formula that'd be just as good.
And it's like a 50-50 split. Like sometimes people want what they want. And that's like, again, like,
how can I best help you?
Right. For sure. And to be honest, man, I think that we always get like, I think people are always a little bit even like taken back that like we're willing to do that. And I'm like, man, like I promise you, like I literally just care about like you getting what you want. Like,
right.
Like if it's not through us, like hopefully you saw our genuineness enough to come back. Like whatever. Like we're still
trust us next time.
Right. Exactly. I think this is something that Andrew Aguero, who's been mentioned multiple times on the podcast, him and I were having a conversation about this on Friday, I believe. But again, is the whole idea of that like we sell an experience, not supplements, right? Like supplements just happen to come along with the experience, but we're selling the experience. And that I think is an opportunity for us. And we coach it to every single one of our employees is like, that is, if we don't have the product, that doesn't mean we can't give them the experience. We can still give them the Triad experience, even if it's a product that we aren't allowed to carry.
That's a good way to put it.
Right. It's like, I can still give you the Triad experience of like, hey man, let me try to find something similar. Not into that. Totally fine. You want this specifically? Let me take the time to find it for you. Let me make sure that you aren't wasting a trip to go down here for a product that they might be out of stock. I will happily, I know we've trained this multiple times, or I have at least of like, call that other supplement store, see if they have it in stock and ask them to hold it. They've got someone coming on the way.
Right.
And, and the thing that's happened, which I think is cool as well. But again, I think it goes to like we were still able to provide the experience at that point. The experience was still what was happening, even if we didn't have the supplement. Like,
right.
At the end of the day, like people come back to Triad because we have great supplements, but really because they have a great experience.
Yeah, and that's a big part of building the customer base and creating repeat customers is making sure they get the experience.
1,000%.
If you don't get it, it's tough to fully understand why you would want to shop here.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And the thing that's cool, and I think that this is something that like we've had GNC call us.
Nice.
Right? Because,
cool.
and I think it has shown them, I've talked to their manager many times and like, in these situations, and they're like, I think that they then realize like, oh, like we can be like, this can be a cordial relationship. This doesn't have to be like us butting heads, like trying to throw bricks through each other's windows. Like it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
And I've, and I don't know how they feel, but I've never sent someone to GNC and been like, dang it, we lost a customer. Like that's because again, like, we train this all the time. Like, I do a lot of our customer service training, and my continuous question that I ask all the time, anybody who's trained with me has heard it a million times, is like, there are better and worse products in the store just in general, and it's like, we try to carry as good as stuff as we can, but there are better and worse, especially for people's things, but that also comes in like varying prices. And it's like, I know sometimes, and not just other supplement stores, but in general, it's like, oh, what'd they buy? Right? What'd they buy? I've never, during customer service training, which is what they buy can be a part of that, but my question is never what did they buy. My question is, did they leave excited about Triad? Did they leave excited about Christian? Did they leave excited about Preston? Did they leave excited about Alex? Like whoever I'm training at the time. But it's like, did they leave excited about you? And did they leave excited about Triad? Because everything else, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like everything else doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they spent $200, $500, or $2 or no dollars. Like that doesn't matter. Did they leave excited about Triad? And if they left excited about Triad, you gave them the experience that you were hired to give them. And that is all that I can really ask for. Outside of that, then better supplement choices come along with trust, come along with building a rapport with somebody, them continuing to understand that we are just here to help, as opposed to what a lot of places do, where it's, potentially just sell them most expensive or whatever, the biggest margin or commission or whatever. And it's like, Okay, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, obviously those things can, to an extent, I don't think that way is a good, but like to an extent, obviously you got to make money, but it's like, no, I'm talking to you about the experience. I'm talking, did they leave with the triad experience?
Right. So obviously that's our attitude, is just do the best we can. Don't worry too much about the competition. Try not to get overly emotional, but it can be an emotional thing. And
sure.
It's, even for us, it can be like, it's tough to, sometimes keep emotions in control, because this can have a pretty close effect on all our livelihood.
Yeah.
And I think we've done a good job of never letting that emotion come through in our actions or show through in our actions. But it is always something that, like, I've honestly genuinely been nervous about getting into it. Is, man, like, what if, our competition is just shitty to us?
Yeah. What if they don't feel the same way?
What if they don't have the same attitude? I have been lucky enough to never have to deal with anything face to face or like directly.
Sure.
Like that. Maybe little things like kind of going around and doing things that are like, you're doing this to mess with us.
Sure.
Indirectly.
Yeah. People it's usually social media posts.
Yeah.
It's usually people talking a little smack online is what we've dealt with in the past.
Yeah. And it'll come, sometimes we get a decent amount of it all at once. I made a post a year or two ago when we were just getting a bunch of it.
Yeah.
But nothing like directly, like no one ever like person to person, face to face doing anything. But it's always something that, like, I'm kind of nervous about.
Sure.
So you have dealt with that now, though, and I don't think we need to, call anybody out or anything. But like you said, it's part of it. It's something that, like, I'm constantly nervous of. But it's interesting that we finally have had someone that has kind of gone through that.
Taking a step back real quick to what you were just saying about making the post, the coolest thing that I think came from that post, obviously we had a ton of customer support, a ton of people like saying like how, like that's BS, like whatever they were saying, like customers just being nice towards us. One of the coolest things that I saw from that though was the strength of how strong a fitness community can be together, including competing, I'm doing air quotes, like competing supplement stores, in the sense of, I know that you personally had multiple like owners of supplement stores reach out and be like, hey, I'm just making sure this wasn't my people.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a cool attitude to have. Like if you, like, we would do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like if somebody was, we don't have to name like stores or whatever, but it's like if somebody was talking smack on somebody and it was like a bunch of, and they made a post about it, I'd be like, hey, that's not our people, right? Because like if it is, like I will put a stop to that immediately.
Right.
That's not how we want to run our business.
Right. It doesn't look good.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did have a situation where somebody didn't exactly feel the same way. And again, I don't have any hard feelings towards him or the situation. Like it was what it was, but he was very publicly and very, what's a good way to put this? Intrusively telling me that we were not welcome, and that we were not welcome in the area, like in Yukon at all. And so
yelling, right?
Oh yeah, big time in my face, like the whole deal at an event, at a multiple vendor event. But again, and this is what I said in the time. I said the same thing of like, it doesn't have to be like this. It does not have to be like this.
Genuinely
I have absolutely no hard feelings towards you. I have nothing. There are plenty of people in all corners of the metro to support more than one single supplements brand. Right. Like there are plenty of places. There are plenty. This town is big enough for the two of us, like kind of thing. And that I genuinely felt like he had a poor attitude. I was like, this is a poor attitude. And, again, man, no hard feelings. Like it is what it is. But I think it just does, I don't know. I just wish it didn't have to be that way. Yeah. And hopefully going forward, it won't be. But
it's been a lot easier. It's been a lot nicer to have when we have competition, even ones in our area that we know personally and have a mutual respect, and maybe we do some things, compete, like have, friendly, in a friendly way, compete.
But I'm still going to call you to see if you have a product that we don't carry,
right?
Or we're out of stock of.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that that's the attitude, because we genuinely prefer it the other way.
Sure,
but
I think the biggest thing, and the thing that I'm honestly most happy about, was that it wasn't somebody else that was working the event that day.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're like, and not to say that our people wouldn't have handled it well. I think every employee that we have top to bottom would have handled it perfectly. That's not what they're paid to have to deal with.
No.
Like, I would hate this person obviously showed, the ability to act this way, and it's like, what if it was Kaylin?
Yeah.
What if it was, somebody new?
Yeah.
Like that's just,
you could have felt really bad for
sure.
And if you felt bad for you, I'd apologize. It's like, I don't like, you don't want to deal with that.
Right.
I don't want to deal with that. Nobody wants to deal with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it could have been someone that it would have had a lot tougher time with that.
Sure.
That is not,
or just situation. Affected them more. Like, there's not a lot of people. Like, I'm lucky enough that, like, I've done a lot of, like, security work. I've done a lot of, like, whether that be at, like, clubs and bars and stuff like that. Like, I've done plenty of security. I've done private security stuff. So it's like, I'll be honest, like, I was a doorman for a long time. I'm used to people yelling in my face. Like, it's just part of the lifestyle.
You are the most prepared person we ever tried to handle something like that.
I spent years with people, like, yelling in my face. It's crazy. Like, if you tell somebody that they can't come into a nightclub because of X, Y, and Z, like, a big one was, like, we didn't allow, like, just certain things. I don't even remember what it was, but it was like certain things. I think it was sports jerseys was one. You weren't allowed to wear sports jerseys. And you're just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't make the rules, but, like, I thought it was kind of silly too. I was like, oh, who wore my Cardinals jersey? Like, nope, but apparently no sports jerseys. Who knows what they were trying to do? But they and you'd have to say, man, like, hey brother, like, sorry, like, if you got another shirt, like, we have other, like, shirt standards that, like, typically, like, you can't just be wearing, like, a white t-shirt or something, which is kind of silly now. I think it's more in style than it was then, but, like, I just be like, man, if you literally have any other shirt in your car, I will let you in that. I just will get in trouble if I let you in this.
Right.
And people will be like, I will cut your head off if you don't let me in right now. All the time. Like, people threaten to kill you. People, like, I'll shoot you. I'll stab you if you don't let me in. And it's a really funny thing because, like, I think it's less of, like, being tough or cool or anything like that, because it's definitely not the situation. You just get so tired of hearing it all the time that you're like, do it. My car's right over there, and I get off at 2:00 in the morning. Bring a big knife because I've got a thick neck. And you just get into this, like, screw it. I'm so angry. I'm so tired of working right now. Yeah. I've been yelled at so much tonight.
Tired of your empty threats.
Yeah, like, do it.
You probably helped ward off a couple of people that were halfway serious. Like, oh, I'm not fucking with that guy.
Yeah, right. Or, everybody else in line was like, wide-eyed, like, oh my God. And you're like, it's a nightly thing. Like, it's, but again, like, and not to say, again, I think everybody would have handled it well, but again, you put, who's our newest employee? What have you? Christian? Yeah. Christian or Alex or, like, any of those people who are, like, our newer people, it's like, that's just, like, that's not in their job description to have to deal with that,
You didn't get hired on at a nightclub.
Right. You didn't get hired on. I remember training people to work door, like, hey, prepare to, like, have people threaten to murder you on a regular basis.
You know what you're signing up for.
Right. And you never expect that.
No.
And so at the end of the day, like, I am just happy that it was me, and, just for the sense of, like, that nobody else had to deal with this situation. Yeah, sure, I'm, like, apt to handle it, but it's also one of those things where it's like, man, I just, like, it'd break my heart to see or have to have, like, Kaylin deal with, especially I think Kaylin, especially being, like, a female, like, those kind of situations. Like, this is a grown man, and it's like, you don't ever want to be in a situation, especially with work, where, like, a grown man is yelling at you for doing your job. Like, we're a supplement store, like, calm down, like, everything's fine. Like, so that's the thing that I'm most happy about.
And it's like you said, man, I think anybody at the store, like, the biggest thing is, like, just don't yell back and we'll be fine. Because it was a public thing. And, like, the main thing is like, we want to make sure that we're not looking bad.
Yeah.
in front of all these people.
I apologized a lot. I'm like, because I was embarrassed. Like, like I barely know these people that are putting on the event. I know them kind of, but it's like, I'm embarrassed. Some dude just showed up and started screaming in the middle of this event. Like, what?
But yeah, and I trust every single employee that we have to not yell back, but at the end of the day, still not fun.
Yeah.
So.
You know what? I say Kaylin. I think Kaylin might be the most vicious one. Kaylin would have been, she'd have jumped on his chest and started scratching his eyes.
Clamp onto his arm.
Get this
she
thing off
got
of me.
her pepper spray too.
Tell you what,
she probably had that thing like out of their holster.
That's right. Don't mess with Kaylin. She'll get you. That's it. Dang, maybe we should have sent Kaylin. Kaylin, you're now officially the triad doorman.
Yeah. The triad bouncer.
Yeah, you're the bouncer. So you're the one that's got to deal with all the people
crappy situations.
Yeah, I feel like yelling at us because we're, whatever. But hey,
she'd be down.
Yeah, I think so too. She's feisty.
Yeah. Speaking of Yukon, on a lighter note, Yukon coming along.
Yeah,
I'm getting a lot of questions about it because obviously we're getting closer and closer. And the big thing about this one is this is the first time we've ever moved into a first generation space.
Yeah, brand new building.
Yeah, our 2 current locations had tenants prior to us, so they had walls or paint or flooring,
dressing rooms.
Yeah, we've had to tear down some dressing rooms before, and lot to do, lots of sand, lot of demo, a lot of painting. We've had at both current stores, we've had to build a wall. With this one, it's really cool because we signed the lease before the building itself was even done. So our landlord is, doing things like covering, like they built the 2 partition walls that we needed. The whole place is painted.
Super cool.
0 demo. It's like bathroom, mop sink. We've had to put mop sinks in before. The whole place will be like, we'll get to go in and put flooring and shelving, products, counters, TVs, electrical stuff.
Yeah.
Like we're going to be able to knock it out a lot faster than we have in the past.
We're going to get the keys and get rolling.
Yeah. And we're getting really close to that point too. So I don't know. We anticipate maybe about a month after we get the keys to be able to start doing our build out.
Yeah.
We think we can do it about a month, but we're going to be gunning because we've got some extra people right now and more help with build out and less to do.
Yep.
So as long as, especially like for like permits and stuff, as long as those things kind of go through, as long as everything shows up on time, I think we can get rolling with it. Yeah. But haven't quite hit the point where we're ready because we were in there last Wednesday and they were doing all the ductwork for HVAC system. So they're rolling around in there with one of those scissor lifts. Yeah. It's like, we don't want to have our flooring down when they're rolling around with that.
Definitely
thing.
not.
So there's that. The drops, I'm guessing they're either close to done or done with HVAC. I'm hoping they're done at least. Yeah. But they've got that and then the drop ceiling, and then we should be good to go. Get in there, do our stuff. So we're getting close. We're getting anxious too because we've had to wait longer than we've had on other locations, but it's
well, we're at that idle time of just like we've got all these things to like put in there. We've got all the toys to put in the toy box.
We've been ready.
Yeah, Alyssa was telling me we got the in-body ordered, like everything that we
POS systems are sitting at Quail.
Yeah, I've got the camera sitting at my house. Like everything's just like ready to go.
Yeah, dude, we it's was kind of nice to get a little bit of a break because usually when we're going to open up a new location, it's so much work to get the lease ironed out, like finding the space, getting the lease ironed out. There's the whole loan prior to that, like applying for loans, getting it approved, making sure all everything, like all our ducks are in a row. All the details work for us. Then finding the space, getting a lease, negotiating a lease to make sure that works for us as well. Yeah. And then when we finally get that all ironed out, we get the keys and we're like, all right, build out. And it's just even more work at that point. Yep. So it was kind of nice once this time, we signed the lease and we're like, okay, now chill. Yeah. Because the building was, still being put together. Right. We can't personally really do much. So it's like, okay, we're down to, take a month off, just kind of like, do our normal stuff, but not have a whole lot of extra stuff on our plate. But we're getting anxious now because it's been, I don't know how long ago we signed the lease, but I think it was 2 or 3 months now.
Yeah, we've had some time.
Yeah, so we've had enough downtime.
Yeah,
that we're ready to go. And cash, we've got all the employees hired. We've got paid for a lot of the stuff. So
we need to get going.
Expenses are high.
So. Time to start doing it.
Yeah, we need to. We're essentially gonna have the expenses of 3 stores with the income of 2.
Yeah.
So
Ryan's social media, we're gonna have to just bring it down to clip art. Sorry. So we're gonna have to get rid of Lightroom and all the things that whatever you use. Yeah, it's just gonna have to be clip art and paint from now on.
That's about as good as Photoshop, right?
Yeah, I think I've heard they're the same thing.
Yeah, essentially. If you know what Photoshop is, just the name.
Yeah.
But
Right. Ryan, any comment? But yeah, no, we're definitely. I remember that just reminded me of renting the U-Haul and driving all the products down to Norman.
Oh yeah,
and Alyssa and we did our little time lapse video of us unpacking and stacking all the stuff, and like there was just like you gotta like. It's hard to imagine now because there's all the shelves and everything. You imagine Norman, literally the entirety of the front floor, besides a small ring where you could walk around the whole thing, was just covered in boxes of products. Just like, however much inventory we had at the time.
I remember the pictures. I forgot that you guys did a U-Haul though, because it was, I was out of town the weekend that you guys did that.
Yep.
I think that was like a week before we opened, right?
Yeah. So much. And we did a time lapse video because it took us just like unboxing. I think it took us a couple days to like unbox and just because it's essentially 6 pallets worth. It's everything. You know what I mean? It's literally everything. And so, but there's so much. Like Alyssa does a really good job, and shout out to her because she plans. She gets so many ducks in a row, like you were talking about prior to it being like we literally have never even like the walls have just recently been built in Yukon, and we already have like a layout of how the back of it's going to look, the front of it's going to look,
the shelves she needs to order in the back,
the
tables,
sample shelves, like where we're going to put stuff, where the cleaning supplies are going to go, where this is going to go, where that's going to go. It's like everything. It's always super cool, but yeah, it's really nice to have though, because it does a lot of the legwork of like figuring out what it needs to be, because we've got like, like especially at Norman, we have a pole, which like you don't even realize it's there in the back.
Forget it's there.
Yeah, but it's like, so we've got different length shelves back there for like the sample shelf is shorter than to make it work. So it's all equal. And so it's like,
it's shelving that wraps around that entire pole.
And you don't even know it's there.
You forget it's there because it's in the middle and just out of the way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. She really utilized that small back room and
did great.
Best possible way.
Right. And so nice having a little bit more space this time. Will has requested a couch multiple times to me.
I don't know if we got room for it. Yeah. It's bigger. It'll be bigger back in Yukon. Yukon will be the perfect size.
I told him he's been talking about a couch and a bidet for the toilet, and I told him he can have one. So one or the other. So
yeah. Can't promise a big couch.
Yeah, we'll look.
Yeah. Yeah, we get something.
Get him a bidet. That boy will be happy.
They make couches with bidets on it.
Ryan, strike that from it. This is genius idea.
He's like, you told me I could have one. I found this.
Will would be like, in New Zealand they've got couch bidets. I'll bring one home.
Will comes back tomorrow.
I know, he was texting me today. He was texting me, just kind of asking some questions and stuff. But it looked like he had a blast.
Yeah, it's beautiful over there.
Jeez, no kidding.
But he was texting me today too. He's like, hey, my flight. He's like, I think he either gets back at midnight tonight or something.
I'm so excited to see him.
Yeah, he's like, I miss you, bro, but man, I'll be back soon. He's like, I'll be back tomorrow. So he's like, is there anything you need? He's like, I know I'm not on the schedule for the rest of the week, but is there anything I can help out with or anything? I'm like, dude, not right now. Just as of right now, just plan to be at meeting on Friday and on shift next week. And but if we need you in the meantime, or if like, man, you need to work some hours, let me know. Like, we'll communicate, but let's keep that the plan for right now. He's like, okay, cool, man. So I'm excited to see him.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see. I love Will. He's such a good energy.
It worked. It did work out really well. He requested off for this trip to New Zealand like months ago. I think probably before we were even, really, really going with Yukon, probably before we signed the lease.
Yeah.
And it was 3 weeks off, and it was like, that's going to be tough to cover.
Sure.
I was like, but his dad's from New Zealand. He's got family over there. It's like, man, that's important for him to go.
And you want to make it a worthwhile trip.
Exactly. You don't want to, spend an entire day traveling there and an entire day traveling back for a few days.
Right.
So
that's what we did for Hawaii, and that was rough. Like it was like, including travel days, I think we were gone 5 total days. And it's like, a day traveling and then a day recuperating. And it's like you end up having 2.5 days there.
So we've shifted around employees a lot with getting prepared to open up Yukon, and we have more staff essentially than we really need at the moment. So we've got a handful of people not on shift, and just kind of taking care of some of the things and really be taking care of a lot of things that we will probably need to do, but just won't have time like outside of this period of time that we have. But it worked out perfectly that it was like, man, like we're really like almost overwhelmed on payroll, and Will's request off just worked out perfectly to be within that time. Like you could have maybe moved it a week at most. Otherwise it would have been tough.
Meant to be.
But it just fit perfectly into like, man, we've got more employees than we need right now. Like Yukon's not open. We've got the staff for 3 stores, but only 2 that we need to be worked.
Right.
We've got plenty, like Ryan's full-time social media. I'm not working in store. You're not working in store. Right. It's like, man, like
we'll go while you can.
Yeah. Dude,
go while you can.
It was like, this is almost like a blessing. Like, dude, like you obviously prepared financially to be gone. It's like, man, like we could actually use a little bit of a break on payroll right now. Right. So it
get out of here, kid.
Beautiful.
Take your chance.
Yeah. I even asked him, I was like, man, like, do you have a preference on, working the week that you leave or the week that you come back? It's like, man, if you need those hours, we're happy to give
we
want
to make sure you have your livelihood. Yeah.
Will does a lot of personal training though. So makes I would assume most of his income from personal training, but is just a phenomenal employee at the store.
Good.
But
so good.
So it's I don't believe that he's working paycheck to paycheck. So it's like, man, like you're going to New Zealand, you're gonna be jet lagged, like you're gonna have to pack and like unpack and just adjust. It's like, dude, like, do you want, like, you can have both of those full weeks off if you want to.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, all right.
That's more ideal for us too.
Right.
So,
exactly. It's like the perfect storm of like it just being able to work that way.
Yeah. Beautiful.
He is.
But excited to have him back.
So excited. He's like, I'm excited not just for myself to see him, but I'm also excited for like just having Will in the store. Like the energy that he brings, not just to the staff, but like to like customers specifically. He's such a good a perfect example of kind of what we were talking about earlier of like the experience. Will can embody the triad experience like so well. He does exactly what you don't, I mean, look, he gets so many 5-star reviews, like he gets all sorts of stuff because he's like one of the most genuine humans I've ever met. Like he just like, there's not a bad bone in his body. He cares about everyone. We call him a golden retriever puppy because he is a golden retriever puppy. He's just so excited to see everyone. Like will be at the store every day this week.
Oh yeah.
1,000%. No doubt in my mind. Just hanging out. Just as he wants to. He just wants to.
Yeah, get a big hug from him when he gets back. Dude,
for real.
And not just like, so like obviously with customers, like huge for like creating a perfect experience, but even just for the team overall, man, Literally. He's just always in the best mood.
An injection of energy.
And that is so important for team morale because like we've talked about before, it's a tough job and it's tough to keep a positive attitude and Absolutely. It's a super, super important thing. And he just naturally oozes positivity. And it's big for the team, so it'll be good to have him back.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it'd be nice for like, getting him back and sampling and stuff and getting Yukon ready and everything. It's just gonna be good to have him back.
So he'll be back on shift, I believe for a week at Quail. I wasn't even necessarily prepared for this, but kind of got down a rabbit hole this morning prepping for our MIB meeting tomorrow morning. Does not stand for Men in Black. That's our Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. our manager meeting. It's a little early for Anthony, so I said you guys can do it FaceTime and you can do it from bed. So it's our managers in bed meeting.
Right.
And
I am the only one who's actually taken advantage of the fact that we can do this from bed.
yeah, we did it for Anthony. He's at the store for meeting last week. I'm at least at home.
Goober. Oh, I am in bed. I have to turn the lamp on.
Yeah, the first one you answered, it was like pitch black.
What do you want?
But yeah, we'll cover because obviously another big thing coming up is Sample Triad.
Ooh.
So next week's schedule will be leading up to Sample Triads on Saturday.
Yep.
We can touch on that a bit. Big events, our annual open house. Most people know.
If you haven't been, come.
Super fun. Tons of free samples. We'll have, I think, 30 vendors out this time.
Ooh.
And what they'll do, so it'll be supplement vendors, and they'll pass out free blender bottles or free shirts as like with a purchase. So if you're purchasing something from their brand, you get free stuff with it that day, which you usually don't in the store.
Right.
And like it's an opportunity to try, so many things that we have to offer in the store. So
meet people, like get to know, like these guys are so cool. That's why we have a specific people that we have come out for this is because like they're not just people who like represent a good supplement brand or own a good supplement brand or work for good whatever, but they're also good people and they're great to talk to and they're great to interact with, and you'll be excited to see them year after year.
It's such a fun day. It's especially the ones that like you said, that do come year after year. I'm excited for the people coming in town.
Amen.
So,
always.
Yeah, we always try and do a couple things with them while they're in town. We'll have we'll have at least one guest that's coming into town next week. We're gonna sneak away for a little bit and do an episode. So excited for that. I think it'll be a good one.
That'd be a very good one.
But next week we're leading up to Sample Triad, and I'm kind of like, we have to shift around hours because, usually we have 2 to 3 people at the store at a time. Sample Triad, we will have 13 people on shift at once.
Yep.
So I was like,
every bit of them.
Yeah. So I was like kind of totaling up the hours, and it's nice that Will actually comes back this week. Again, honestly, if you moved his trip a week, it could not be more ideal.
Right.
But we'll probably put him, since he's been off shift for, will be a month. We'll put him back in the store, let him get acclimated, but it'll help make up hours because, so I was totally up the hours for each store. And this is something that I constantly adjust. So I just kind of have to reference back to from time to time. But the total amount of hours that needs to be worked at Quail is, I think, 168. And the total amount of hours that needs to be worked for a week, I should specify, for a week in Norman is 120 for an entire week to cover all the shifts that need to be covered. So it's like, that's a way to know like how many people we need, how many hours do we need them working, yada, yada, yada. Saturday, what is that? I did the math and I didn't include some of the people that aren't on shift regularly. So I like the people that aren't currently on shift right now, but it will be, even people that aren't on shift will be on shift.
Yeah.
And what would that be?
Everybody gonna be working.
But it'll be, we'll start at 7 a.m. in the morning, set up, getting ready before the vendors get there. And the store's open till 7 p.m. Some of us will be there till 7 p.m. because it's a lot of cleanup. Some of us will, jump to Norman to go work. Some of us will have other responsibilities.
Right.
But it'll be a 12-hour day
easy
for 13 people. So it's, in one day we're going to have 156 hours worked. So
love that.
But it'll be everybody, including Will, throwing Will back in, who's not on shift right now, throwing him back in. Everybody's going to be close to 40 hours. So it's like, we're not doing sample events is a big thing. Everybody does a sample event a week. Not like that'll be optional next week, but we'll cover all that at a meeting tomorrow morning. But just kind of wild that how many hours are going to be worked in one day.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. That's so funny that's literally a week's worth of hours in a single day.
Yep.
And we will need every bit of it.
Yep.
Every single bit of it.
It's a busy day.
That's such a fun day though. It's the best. If you haven't been, you absolutely need to come. I should knock my contact out of my eye. Let's see if I can make a recovery here. Talk amongst yourselves.
I'll pour myself a little more Sexton. I don't know if you want any more of this because it sounds like you've got a 2-day hangover. Luckily, I do not.
And we're back.
Hey,
Yeah. You got to go on the fly sometimes.
good work.
But if you if you haven't been, it is an absolute blast. It's the most fun day of the year. It is everything that it is promoted as. It is as advertised. It is super dope.
Tons of vendors.
How many people do you think showed up last year?
So we were counting. Like, it was like our very first one was tiny.
Mhm.
Like, if we saw the amount of people, like, we see more people on a regular, like, we see like 2 to 4 times as many people on a daily basis at Quail for during a day of no promotions for anything as we did at our first sample triad. We saw like, and that was like a busy day for us.
We went from being literally held inside the store. We just moved a couple of the like movable shelves, put some tables out, and then like went for it.
Yeah.
And that was like the second one, because the second one was my first one, I think. And that was like that's what that was like. And now it's like a literal circus tent in the parking lot.
Dude. Yeah, we did in 2020, we were doing our best to still try and make it happen. And that was a year that we pushed it outside because it was starting to get a little packed inside. Like, it was a busier day. And with that year being obviously, you know, trying to watch proximity to everybody else, it's like, let's push it outside. It's a good year. It would not have fit inside that year. But that year in 2020, it was a lot of 10 by 10 tents just right out in the spots right out front of the store. Yep. Now we take up like half the parking lot.
Literally, it's huge, man.
Yeah. It's
so cool.
It has gotten wildly big.
Well, it's got everything, man. It's like it is a kid in a candy store. Like, if you were interested in supplements, fitness, bodybuilding, like anything that has to do with this, there's something for you. Everyone has such a good time.
It's one day to like for everybody to kind of come together. It's one of the very few times that you'll see every single employee. Like even at meeting where we'll see 12 of 13 employees, we'll have just confirmed with Trace. He's going to work Norman that day.
Shout out Trace.
That is huge to have someone that we trust, like, and knows the business, knows how to work in the store.
Can provide that experience.
Yes. So he'll be working in the morning while the event's going on. But yeah, for the entire team to come together and see just how many customers we've built over last year. Cause that's, I think you're the one that's mentioned it. It's kind of a measure of how much we've grown over the past year is watching how big Sample Triad has gotten, how many people show up. But like I said, we were counting and it was like, I think the first Sample Triad, we maybe had like 50 people. Then it was like 100, 150. Then it was like 200, 300. And now I just don't even know. I was like, it's
1,000. Yeah. Like literally, like throughout the day, man. Like, you see so many people coming. Like, you see, like you're saying, you see all the employees, but you also get to see, like, as an employee, you get to see all the customers.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. It's funny, man. It's gone from, you know, even our first one we had, you know, different people doing different stuff, but it's funny that we've got entire teams of people that have roles where it's not like, hey, you work the register, you help customers, you work this booth. It's like, you are a team of 5 people and you guys are on registers. You guys are a team of 4 people and you're working the floor. You're a team of 2 people. You're working this booth. And I just run around stressed out, but don't actually do anything that day.
It's typical. It is Kevin grays his hair for sure.
Just stressfully, just scramble around, pretend like thinking I'm doing something, but not actually accomplishing anything.
Yeah, so, that's I would agree.
It's a some years day. I can like last year. So prep for this year, it's been a lot of the aspects like last year's setup had room for growth. So we haven't had to change the setup too much to continue to grow within that particular like plan. But so like planning this year has been a lot easier because it's a lot of just what we did last year and it's just redoing it, but it's a lot less thought put into it. Redo this again.
We don't have the one tent that we tried to buy that blows away in the wind in the morning. And like,
that's a funny story, man. That was 2020 when we were trying to put it outside and we were trying to do it last minute. So we found these tents they were like 10 by 30 and we bought, I think 4 of them. It's like, we'll just cover the whole parking lot. It was in August because it got rescheduled with COVID and
needed some sun cover.
We needed some sun cover and we were worried about rain too because the year I think it was the year before that, it was just a total downpour. It's like, what do we do if it's like that?
Right.
So we, get to sample try the day before. We're there I think we got there at like 6 a.m.
Right.
Because there was a lot of setup with those tents. And we put the first one up and the wind just takes it, flips it over, poles are bent.
Yeah, everything's broken.
And I remember like stepping back and it was like, everybody's like, don't think the tents are going to work. Because they were not the nicest, like highest quality tents.
Yeah,
like
right.
now we do like professionals come out and put essentially like a circus sized tent in the parking lot and stake down and everything. But I remember like stepping back and just being like, goodness, I don't know what to do. Like, luckily it's not going to rain, but it's going to be hot and sunny today. And it is windy.
Mm-hmm.
Tents we bought, not going to work. Yep. So just like standing there for what felt like 30 minutes to me, it might have only been 5, but just like saying like, I don't know what to do. It's like, I think we've got too many vendors to fit inside. We'd have to move a lot of things. We could, we could put them outside, but like, we've only got a couple of 10 by 10 tents. Yeah. And I remember standing over on the side with, side note, I think this was Ryan's very first day.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember, I think we hired, you accepted the job like earlier that week. I was like, you free on Saturday?
Yeah. He's like, what have I got myself into?
But just like standing there, and it was you and Alfonso that came over and we were just kind of discussing options. And we ultimately were just like, and everybody's just kind of standing around talking, and because there's no direction at this point.
Right.
And so we've got 20 people here all just waiting to be told what to do. And ultimately just be like, man, I think our only option is to just put tables up in the parking lot.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Here we go.
Circle them up, put the tables out, start setting it up.
Get as many tents out as we can.
So that one I was running around a decent amount. We had a couple of 10 by 10s, and then we had vendors that came that also had some. So as the day went on and the sun came up and it got warmer, we got 6 10 by 10 tents put up to cover the vendors. And
didn't we end up going to Academy and like buying, like Corey bought some or something?
It was Zach and Corey that made a quick trip to Academy, and they bought it was like we had 5. We were able to scrap 5 together, and they went and bought the 6th one, so everything was covered, and it ended up being really good. But that was like a lot of scrambling around, like me going around putting up tent, like while the event's going on, like me trying to put tents up,
right,
and. So that one I was definitely scrambling around a lot, doing a lot of work. Last year, because it was a new setup, it was stressful, and I was just constantly ready for something to go wrong, like it had in years past, like Storm 2019,
there's always
tent situation 2020, 2021. It all ran super smoothly, but I just ran around expecting something to go wrong, and just went smoothly. So maybe this year I'll at least like step back and just hang out with customers and just
we'll see.
Kiss some hands, shake some babies.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. No, I think it'll man, it is a well-run event. It is a well-planned. It is like the time is put into it. It's like I know Alyssa and you specifically dedicate your life to getting this event going together. And so it's like, it is a well thought through plan and a well put on event. I think the days of we'll be experienced enough. Like you'll be experienced enough. Alyssa's experienced enough where it's like, the problems before they happen. Nope, don't buy the crappy 10 by 30 tents. Spend the money, rent the tent. It's worth it. They come and stake it in the parking lot. It's perfect. Like you have no problems. You don't have to worry about it. They come and bring it all down. They fill the holes. They do everything they're supposed to do. And it's like, cool. We know it's that we were talking about that this weekend when it comes to certain things where I forget what we were talking about. Oh, we were talking about the weddings, and it was talking about Frank, who my buddy who got married, he recommended, he's like, before you get married, he's like, I do personally think it's a good idea to get a wedding planner if you're going to have like a big wedding, and he's like, I looked at it and thought I could do it myself. And I was like, it's the old, like, you hire somebody to build a deck. They come out, they say, this deck's going to be $4,000. You go, what? $4,000? I could build this deck for $2,000. And then you go try to build your deck for $2,000. You end up spending $6,000.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you don't have the experience, you don't have the knowledge, you don't know what you're doing. And you're going to spend more money in the end trying to figure it out than you are, you're gonna have to go buy this tool and then another tool and then another thing and another, and it ends up, and it's like, oh, you could have just had the guy do it for 4, it would have been done and you'd be happy with it. And I think that's kind of like, especially with the tent situations, a good,
cheaper and a lot less stress.
You're right. It's like, what, it's just done. It's done and you don't have to worry about it. And it's like, I just spend the money on the tent, like kind of deal.
Tent was dope last year.
Super
so much
dope.
easier too.
Well, and I think it drew so much attention. Like it was such a cool thing to see, like such a big tent. You're like, holy crap. Like when people who were like, people just driving by thought like, whatever, people who were coming to the event were like, holy crap, this is crazy. Like this is huge.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Did we, I've seen other events put on by other stores that will do like each vendor brings their own 10 by 10 tent and you're just kind of set up through the parking lot. And I think that's a super cool setup, but you're relying so much on nice weather. Yeah. And most sample triads, it's been nice, but we had that one year was a total downpour and it's like, dude, that would have ruined the whole event. Yep. It's like, not going to take that risk.
No.
Yeah.
And we can do it with the big tent. You don't worry about it.
Right.
Where does it keep going? Where does it keep? Like, I think it continues to grow.
So that's been my favorite part is the year that we did in 2020 when we did it, and it was this last minute, like it was like weeks before they were like, push it outside. And so we were like, buying these tents off of Amazon. Like we didn't have time to get the approval, get everything set up. So it's like, do it and ask for forgiveness. Yeah. So, we did this and we only took up the spots in front of our store, which was nice. Right. And
we do not do that anymore.
No. And I got an email from our landlord on Monday and it was like, hey, what kind of event did you have on Saturday? And it was like a kind of a weird question. It was like, was it a corporate event or was it like just something you guys put on? I was like, we don't have a corporate.
Yeah. Don't know what you mean.
Yeah. I was like, and, I said like, I just kind of explained the event and I was like, hey, I apologize if,
caused any
issue. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We tried to contain as much as possible. And, it was like, we had to kind of make some last minute decisions. It got bigger than we anticipated. And with COVID,
it's honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to spread it out, make sure people were safe.
And never heard back from them. So I was like, okay. Right. So following year, we had just re-signed our lease with a brand new landlord that just bought the whole center, right? So we're still kind of like feeling it out. This was, we were planning sample triad and re-signing lease at the same time. And unfortunately we missed the window of like our where we're allowed to re-sign at a certain rate. So we were having to like kind of renegotiate. Luckily the landlord ended up being very reasonable on a rate. And I was like, I don't want to ask for to put a 30 by 60 tent in the parking lot as we're hopefully re-signing the lease here.
Right.
And so I was like, we'll get that done. That's more important. And then we'll, give it a week, ask for the 10. And it was like super nervous because it sounded like our previous landlords weren't really cool with that so much. And
you just roll the dice if they will be.
So I like had this like whole like email because like we can't do a 60 by 30 and ask for forgiveness.
Right. Yeah, that's taking up a lot of the parking lot.
It's like we're gonna get permission this time.
Right.
And luckily I get to be like, hey, like we do this event every year. Our last landlords, let us do some tents in the parking lot. And so it seemed like this was something we do regularly. And I like had this whole long email I typed up, and our the property manager reached back out and like he was just like, what space are you in? I was like, oh, we're in suite 203. He's like, yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Yeah, it was pretty loud. Sorry. But yeah, he was, it was just like, oh, okay, cool. I was so hyped to get approval for that tent.
Right.
And apparently, so he emailed me on the Monday after sample triad last year and said that he had come by and saw the event. I didn't see that. I didn't see him. I don't know if I've ever seen him in person.
I don't know
actually.
what he looks like.
So
could have been anybody.
I've got a guess on what he looks like based off his voice, but other than that, I have no idea. But yeah, apparently he came out and saw the event and emailed me on Monday. He's like, hey, I was out there, saw the event, looked awesome, looked like it went really well. Let's do it again next year and make it bigger.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, I'm down that you're so down for this.
Yeah.
Not just okay, but like,
make it bigger. Yeah, okay, we will. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's so cool.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's been the to get the green light on that. It's been awesome. It's like this year, like I don't know if we need to make it a ton bigger this year. It's, again, going back to like the layout of the whole thing, but eventually it will be, man. Eventually we're gonna potentially need two of those bad boys out there.
Dang. Yeah, because you want to have the store there. You want to do it in a place where, obviously we have that. And so, yeah, what does that end up looking like?
Yeah. Dude, he was like offering, there was like a big space that was empty. He's like, you can go in there if you want to.
Dang.
Yeah. Our new landlord's pretty cool there.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
That's super neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. No, it's the coolest time. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to have back. I'm excited to get it's one of those things we're in the crunch time of it. So I'm excited to the day when I'm standing there.
Yeah, same.
That's when it's great.
I know you always try and pull me back because I'm, running around doing at least thinking I'm doing a bunch of stuff, but you always try and pull me back and just like
smell the roses.
Yeah, just look how big it, look at how big it is.
Such a cool thing, man. Well, and the other thing too, that I really love about Sample Try It is sometimes it's people's first experience. That was funny. A lot of times it's people's first experience with Try It. Like their friend has come and then they're like, oh, it's Sample Try It this weekend. And then they're like, what's Sample Try It? Like, bro, come with me. Like, come check this out. You're going to leave with a bag full of samples. You're going to leave with all sorts of stuff from vendors, like all sorts of sweet, cool stuff. Food, there's events, raffles, like the whole it's carnival. Like it's as cool as it can be with this stuff.
Yeah.
And
it is like a supplement carnival.
It is.
Yeah. Fitness challenges where like
we're gonna put Preston in a dunk tank.
Oh yeah.
Not really, but hey,
dude,
all I'm
tank.
saying.
I like the ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan?
Dunk tank has already been mentioned.
Nice.
I feel like Thomas would be the one that would be in the dunk tank, though.
That's who's been mentioned in dunk tank.
I'm down. Put me in the dunk tank. I'm in.
Yeah, it's
it'll be October. We'll be lucky. It'll be 58 degrees that day.
Yeah. Maybe this if we would have done that in the summer, like we did it on, I think a couple of times. It was like the hottest day of the year.
Put me in, coach. I'm ready I'll do the cold dunk tank. I don't care.
Yeah,
we get a bounce house. We get a dunk. I'm just kidding.
I mean, those are all options, honestly. We keep adding more and more elements every year. So
last year, one of the coolest things that we did was the tie-dye shirt station.
Yeah. So we did, that was super, super popular.
Yeah.
And everybody got to make their own unique act. Like, it's not like everybody gets the same tie-dye triad shirt.
Right.
Because you can legitimately buy pre-tie-dyed shirts and print on them.
Right.
Everybody gets to make their own.
Totally unique to you. That was such a cool thing, was making like the tie-dyed shirts and like because people ask me all the time. I really like my tie-dye shirt. I think it came out cool. I did a lot of like purple and black, and it was a sweet one. And people ask me all the time, like, dang man, where's that shirt? And I'm like, oh, we had I get to explain, like, we did a tie-dye station. This was just how mine turned out. And I was like, dang. It's cool, man.
We did for clothing this year. We usually try and release at least one new shirt. This year for clothing, we've got an entire line. Like we're doing like our fall clothing release. So
how crazy is that?
Yeah.
Our fall clothing release.
Got hoodie, sweatshirts.
This is made up times now,
Got a new shirt. I think people would be pretty hyped. Won't give away the design, but it's on that olive green or that military green type color.
Super cool shirt. I've seen it.
Got some new hats coming out, and got a new shirt with Define that I'm hyped about. I know I mentioned Ryan put one together that I'm real hyped about.
Ryan's feeling it.
I might put that. We wear the new Triad gear, but I'm gonna be rocking Define gear that day.
Hey, why not, man? Yeah. Hey, but that's the thing, right? Like, why would we not? I think we've seen, especially in the supplement and fitness industry, how important a clothing line associated with your brand can be. And I think that that's something that we put a ton of effort. I know, Ryan, you put a ton of effort. I know you put effort in on this for years. Alyssa does a ton of stuff. Everybody puts a hand in it, but I know it's like you guys doing a lot. And it's like how important it is to be maintaining and keeping up like a clothing presence with your fitness brand.
It's a big part of your marketing, at least ours. Some people I'm sure would potentially argue with that, with like depending on the type of company, but it's a it's the biggest part of our marketing, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and it's a huge part, and it's just, man, I think that's the coolest thing, that when you go somewhere and you see Triad shirts and Defiant shirts and all that kind of stuff all over, like it's, I mean, we've done so many Triad shirts that you can find them at thrift stores now.
Yeah, Ryan found a classic.
Yeah.
I was hyped about that.
What was that? That was the blue, the donation shirt, the Cleats for Kids one, right?
It was, yeah.
Ooh,
It has Kai's on the back and everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It has the Kai's logo on it too.
Yeah.
It's one of like 4 shirts I know I don't have that I really want. So I was really glad to check that one off.
Yeah. What other ones are you looking for?
Looking for I think it's the Red Hurricane one.
Yeah.
That was the first
OG
donation shirt that we did.
OG
The
donation shirt.
misspelled gray t-shirt.
The new Triton.
That's a collector's item right there.
1,000%.
And then the black HIA shirt.
Ooh.
So if anybody has one, I will buy it off you.
I'll be honest, I have all of them. I have all of those.
And preferably in a larger, extra large.
Nah, these are all 2Xs at least. So sorry, but I do have all those. I love, that was one of my favorite things, because like, for anybody who doesn't know, on Fridays and Saturdays, you're allowed to wear a Triad t-shirt in store. So super cool thing, just kind of let our people just down a little bit. I love pulling out just some random old Triad shirt.
Dang.
Like, I'll go to my closet and I'll like pull all my clothes forward to get to like the very back. And I wore the original Triad shirt to the store one day in Norman, of like the OG
Dang.
that was on like a different cut shirt, like
Yeah.
everything. I think I went like a month where I was just wearing like different ones. I think the next weekend I wore the Stanley shirt with the Stanley head on it. That one was a cool one. Man, I'm trying to remember. I wore like the old school, like one of the white 4th of July one, like the white with the stars and stripes that we did over the Triad. It's like just ones like that where you're just
That's
like,
crazy. That one was like, I feel like that one was like halfway through where we are right now, and it's still, and now, and there's so many new people that have come, like, started shopping with us and released that shirt.
And I love it because people are like, dang, where's that? Can I get that one? I'd be like, oh no, sorry, man, this is long gone.
And I think this was something that you brought up early on too, because we were kind of on a roll where we were just doing a different design every time, and it was like, man, how cool would it be if we never redid a design?
Yeah.
So it's, if you don't get it on a drop, not ever gonna get it,
right?
So it's a little bit of a sense of urgency, and creates like these collector items that Ryan's finding at thrift stores.
Yeah, it's a cool deal, man. Like it's cool to like look back. There's a couple shirts I don't have, but the vast majority I do have. But yeah, like the really old ones, I like pulling out like the new. I wore the new Triton shirt. Like that one was a good one.
I need to do that. I've got some shirts that I could pull out that I haven't worn in years.
Yeah,
that are just ones that like we had
the long sleeve Christmas.
That is a good one.
The white one, the long sleeve white Christmas.
I liked that one. It was a good fit.
Yeah.
I have one of my favorite stories with a Triad shirt is with the Stanley shirt. So we released this at a sample Triad in 2018. And it was the first year that I took over full ownership. It was Trace and Alfonso at the store. That was the entire staff.
And Stanley.
Yeah, that was when Stanley was hanging out up at the store and was there legitimately every day. Like Stanley met probably 1,000 people,
literally, and
everybody knew Stanley. Like when they would come in, they would like knew who he was. He had been up there, long enough. But we released, so like everybody had gotten to know him. So it like just worked out perfectly that year for sample Triad, we did Stanley's face instead of the triangle, like a little like animated version of Stanley,
cartoony Stanley face.
Yeah, but it was like very clearly Stanley. So like, and we did all the profits from that shirt got donated to a charity that helps with procedures for shelter dogs.
Nice.
So it's like, there's shelter dogs, like if no one owns them, if they don't have like an owner, like who's going to pay for their procedures? Right. So it's a charity or it's a organization that pays for these.
That's super cool.
Yeah. And we ended up we ordered 100 of them because that was about the size of orders that we were doing at the time. Ordered 100, they were gone in an hour.
Yeah.
So we just instantly started going to pre-orders, and we're like, you can pre-order one and we'll get it to you once we reprint. So we ended up doing another whole 100 of them in pre-orders.
It's a cool shirt.
But I had a guy, this was probably a year after that. I was at a gym and it was like late night, and I saw him wearing the Stanley shirt, and I had a Triad shirt on as well. And a lot of times, like if it's, me and someone else wearing a Triad shirt, and I like don't necessarily know who they're. I'm like, hey, nice shirt, man. And it's like,
Yeah, right.
I don't know if they know who I am or not, but I'll, you know, they're like, oh, hey, you too, man. And
Yeah.
I complimented this guy and I was like, hey man, nice shirt. And he was like, oh yeah, it's from Triad. It's like, this is like someone's dog that works there or something. Like, that's my dog.
You're wearing a shirt with, that's my dog on your shirt. You don't even realize it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's like, whatever, man, get away from me.
It was like 10 o'clock at night. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is your dog on my shirt. Cool, guy. All right. I'm out.
I never realized I did probably sound like a crazy person. Like some homeless guy that wandered in.
Yeah. That's my dog. Yeah. Kevin's never seen that guy again. So no one has.
Oh, it just got dark.
But yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, we keep calling them the Triton shirts. So what happened is that every single person on the team proofread the back of the shirt that was supposed to say nutrition, and it does not. It says Nutriton.
Not only that, it got printed. They printed 500, and we handed out 500 before anybody noticed.
Yep. Nobody noticed until someone was like, who noticed? Was it a customer or was it one of us?
The way that I remember it, I think it was Chad was wearing it at church one morning and someone sitting behind him noticed it and it says, your shirt say Nutriton? And Chad was like, what? It's like all of them had been passed out already.
Yeah. And we had all proofread. Everyone had looked through it like, oh, way to go, guys.
That was at least my mistake on typing that because I got in a, you know, when you just get in habits of like typing certain things.
We have checks and balances for a reason, and those even failed. So
that's true. But it was just, my finger was missing that I, and I was doing that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I was missing that I with that finger.
Well, you know, it happens, right? Because look at, you know, not to call anybody out on this, but I know for a fact that every single person on staff, or every single person on staff, minus a few, looked over the Define Way labels that we've had for how long?
I think either 500 or 1,000 units.
Yeah, so a good amount of time to realize that carbohydrates was spelled wrong on it.
Oh, dude, we are so thorough about it too. There's so much information on those labels, but that's why we do that. It's to catch at least as many as we can.
Right.
But yeah, we caught it. We were about to reprint them and Alyssa's like, oh yeah, carbohydrates is spelled wrong. I'm like,
huh?
Yeah, I think maybe it was you that realized it was like, wait a second. What's the rest of them look like?
Yeah. And you're like, nope, they're spelled wrong too. Great. That's so funny.
Yeah. No matter what, you just can't avoid mistakes. We're so like, we'll have like all 13 people that work at the store. Like I put together the labels, and it's just so much information. Like even when you're looking at nutrition facts, like you're having to create every single word, every single dose, every single line it up all perfectly. Right. It's so
doesn't just appear.
Yeah. And it's like literally every aspect of it is created and you just don't think about how tedious that is until you're actually doing it. And so when I finish up, I am just incapable of finding mistakes.
Right.
So I print them off
at that point.
Yeah. We leave them up at the store and we have legitimately everybody, you know, get a week, proofread it because we just need as many eyes on this as possible. And that round of Define Way labels, we probably had like 8 or 9 people look over it and go through and they'll mark mistakes. So these pieces of paper, there'll be corrections and they'll sign off. Hey, I correct. Like I looked through.
We looked through it.
I either found some or didn't, but either way I looked through it. And we had 8 or 9 people look it over. No one found that one.
Right.
And I don't know if anybody's noticed that we misspelled that on the back. So if you currently
it'll be a collector's item as well.
Yeah, these things kind of turn into collector's items, don't they? But yeah, if you could still right now you can still buy Define Way with a misspelled carbohydrates on the back for a limited time only.
If somebody can walk into the store wearing a Nutriton Triad shirt in a protein tub size Define pre-workout, Kevin will kiss you on the lips. You heard it here first.
Yeah, I'll do. Yeah,
cool.
You are an OG customer if you've got those two things.
I've got both of them. I'm coming in for a kiss.
I already owe you 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna get me on them smooches.
You're not trying to use up your 2 that you got.
No, that one doesn't count. That one's a freebie if I get that one. Yeah, that's
Yeah, we've talked about the first pre-workout that we came up. We put too much into it, too many servings. And they're like, hey, we can't fit this in a normal size pre-workout tub. Manufacturer without consulting us. Yeah, throw it in a 2-pound size tub of protein.
Yeah, labels tiny because we were expecting a small tub. Like everything just looks so goofy on it.
Good formula for the time.
Yeah,
pre-workouts, the formula, like popular formulas come and go so quickly though.
Yeah.
Like now it would be like this is an old formula. The time was great though.
I remember working at S2 and we got like 3 different pre-workouts that all had 300 milligrams of caffeine in them, and we were like, "This is crazy!
Yeah,
like, this is crazy how high stim these are."
Did you remember the first one with 400?
Yeah.
We saw that and we're like, are they nuts?
Yeah, right.
And now that's just like that's the high end.
Yeah, it's like that's fine.
Yeah, jeez,
that's so crazy.
I've used this one a lot too because obviously citrulline is super popular. You and I, when we first started working in the industry, citrulline was just starting to like kind of be found out about, and like almost all pre-workouts for their pump were using arginine. It was the best pump ingredient around at the time. And no one was using citrulline. It's like, dude, you could not get away with using arginine over citrulline these days.
You didn't see butane. You didn't see a lot of things.
No,
there's a lot of stuff like that where it's like it's cool to see how it like continues to.
You were able to find some DMAA though.
Yeah, you were. There was a lot of DMAA. There was a lot of stuff that was out around. That was like, it was like, you gonna get a good pump? No. You gonna be on crack? Sure am.
Yeah, yeah. Pump's not as great, but energy, the stimulants were top notch back in the day. You were wired and taking a dump.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's how it went, man. That's it's funny to see, but it's cool to see how like things have kind of evolved over the years. And I know we've talked about this before, but I think the thing that continues to like blow my mind just on like growth of size was Preston talking about figuring out how many sample events we do a year. So everyone's kind of, everyone on staff does a sample event a week. But if everyone on staff, we have more people than there are days in a week. So he figured out, and I mean, we can do the math now too. You got to think, there's 52 weeks? Is it 52 weeks in a year? Yeah.
I think so.
52 weeks in a year times however many employees sample right now.
You sample. Ryan jumps in as needed right now. You were sampling though.
Yeah. Let's just do for like what would be essentially last year with our current staff. Like
last year with our current staff. So counting you, probably not counting Ryan.
No, we'll count Ryan.
We'll
count you as well because you were sampling all of last year.
The
only person who wasn't
just
sampling
like a month ago.
Ryan just did the math.
That's with 12 employees.
Right. 12 employees sampling once a week.
624.
624 tables set up a year.
Goodness.
Dude, but like think of like the difference. Like you remember when you used to talk about, and like this was all you, so it was like incredible, but it's like, we did over 30 in a month. Well, now it's like
so that's like I think that's a great like comparison though, is like I was, having to bust my ass to do one every single day, which is like, that's hard for one person. We don't expect that from anybody now, but me myself is not capable of accomplishing what the team can accomplish right now, no matter how hard I work.
1000%.
I'm having to work a lot less hard than I was in the past. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's what's cool about it too, is like, I think not only are we doing so many, we're doing ballpark 624, I believe is what the number was, a year. It's like how our sampling has evolved. Like if you look at some of like pictures, I ever look back at even like S2 or like us early days of sampling, you see like how many things you have on the table, how robust our sample shelf was, like how we were trying to draw people to the table. Because a big thing for us is like, to my knowledge, I don't think we ever have, like, except for sparing like situations, but we don't sell things at events. Like sample events when we're setting up table. If it's a big event like out of the city, we might, but
we'll do
like,
some in like Tulsa or other cities where with the
makes more sense,
where we're not, you can't just pop over to the store,
right?
But that's pretty rare.
But the big idea again is like, it's kind of twofold. One is it's like, we talk about this quite a bit, but it's like I I want to be very approachable. Like I want as many people to feel as comfortable as possible to come to the table without having to feel like I'm going to sell them something. Everyone's walked through the mall at the kiosk where they're just trying to like shove you over to the table. It's like, if somebody is clearly not interested in talking to us, I have no problem with letting them walk out. Like you can walk in and walk out and you can completely ignore me. And I have no problem with that because my goal here is not quantity, it's quality. I'm trying to have good interactions with people. I'm trying to have good talks with people. And so, but
you want to avoid having, is that thunder outside?
Yeah, it's pouring outside apparently.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. But you want to also avoid people having a bad taste in their mouth about Triad
1,000%.
Because if you're sitting there trying to, usher people over to the table, it's like, oh, these people are pretty pushy. And it's like, that is not what we're trying to
1,000%. Well, and one of the other things that's big, and we hear this all the time, and like I've even had employees ask before, but I have somebody, it seems like more recently, I've had a lot of people ask about it. And I got to kind of take the opportunity to like explain it to a couple of our employees. But the question got brought up at some events recently of like why we don't have things for sale. Like, why do we not sell things? Like why? And even like a couple of our employees were like, yeah, I've always kind of wondered like why we've gone down the route of like not selling things. And I was like, there's, the pushiness, like people being comfortable to come into the table and all that. But for me, I felt like I explained it well, hopefully explained it well and shared on here. But it was like, the idea is, again, we don't sell supplements. We sell an experience.
Right.
And I can't give you that experience if I'm only at the table with you. So that's why we do like free shake passes so people can come in and actually experience what we have to offer. And like, sure, let's say you come to the table and a lot of times people are just, it seems like at events, people are just willing to buy anything. They're just like, well, yeah, give me one of those. Give me whatever. Give me one of those. And you're just like, oh man, actually, I'm afraid that we actually aren't selling this. And I've had people would be even like, what? You're not selling this? Like, I can't buy this right now. I'm like, man, unfortunately, just have you run down to the store. Like, I can figure something out if you really need me to, like, kind of deal. But again, it's like, let's say they buy a Core Pro in an event and they take it home and they really like it. Well, what happens when they need to get another Core Pro? They might hop online, and there's nothing wrong with somebody buying Core online, but they might hop online and buy Core Pro from there because they know they like it, and that's right. And that's great, and I appreciate that. But you're excited about the product, you're excited about the supplement, and I want everyone to be excited about their supplements, but I want more people to be excited about Triad. If you can come to the store where I can give you the Triad experience of sampling, tasting, holding, feeling, checking everything else out, having really good customer service, interacting with us in a positive light, well, then it's like when you run out of whatever supplement you got, you're excited to come back to Triad. You're excited about the experience, and that's what you're craving more than you are just wanting the supplement, because we sell the experience, not the supplement.
That's it exactly. It's and I've had those people too where they think it's weird we're not selling anything. And my go-to thing that I talk, what's the word I'm looking for? Explanation for why we don't sell anything there is like, man, we just pride ourselves. We carry a huge variety. Right. It's just not practical for us to carry, bring all this to an event.
Over 2,000 items in each store.
Yeah, exactly. We could pick a few, but then we're narrowing that down, man. And that's just not what we're about. And that's a legitimate reason why we don't do it, or part of the reason why we don't do it.
Formula One comes in 12 flavors.
Yeah, exactly. Am I supposed to bring 3 of each of those?
Yeah, right.
So, but that legitimately is ultimately what it comes down to, is that, yeah, we might miss out on some sales by not having some products for sale at the table, but those people that would be buying those things aren't necessarily going to be repeat customers. Right. People, if you can just keep people in the door one time, they're a lot more comfortable to come in a second time 1,000%. Because they know they're going to have a good experience. They're just comfortable with even driving to the place. Right. I'd rather miss out on a couple, one-time sales at an event to just have a chance at them coming by the store. Yeah. Where if you've got 3 people that are wanting to buy something at an event and, you tell all of them, hey, come by the store, you miss out on 2 of them, but one does make their way over to the store. That person will shop with us 12 times.
Right. Well, and think of like, how many long time regular customers, people who we're personal friends with now, people who we invite out to events, people who like whatever has happened, like somebody I'd invite to my wedding kind of thing. How many of those people came in off a free shake pass? Like it just come sample something pass.
So many,
so many people that I like truly adore and have become like true friends with, all because we handed them a reason, an excuse to come in the store. Like that's all we're doing. We're handing you an excuse. It's literally a service.
A call to action.
Yeah, we literally do it all the time. I tell people, it's like, oh, you can come in and sample. Essentially, if you're looking for something, shopping for something, I'm happy to sample you. Like, doesn't matter. But it's like the free shake pass is like you said. It's a call to action. It's like come in. Like, let me give you a reason to actually step foot in, so that I have a chance to show you the Triad experience.
It works out so beautifully, and we're giving away some trade secrets here because this is one that we actually developed ourselves. Is the free shake passes, because obviously we sample out stuff before, if you need to try a flavor of protein, if you need to try a pre-workout before you're buying it, or just double checking it, you can come in and try things. So it even started out. It's funny. We started those passes, we were doing because we opened up and no one was coming in, and it's like, man, we're totally prepared for people to come in. We started pretty far on one end of the spectrum of we were doing free shirt passes.
Yeah,
like, hey, we want to be hooking these people up. They're all new customers. We want to be hooking these people up with a shirt. Like, let's hand them out at events and just give them a reason to come by. And those worked out really well. But we started to run out of shirts and didn't have anybody ordering more.
Right.
Then we switched that over to a free blender bottle. And those worked for a while. And then we ran out of blender bottles. And so then it was like the scramble of we were trying, debating back and forth on whether it's worth it to try and do another order, like a big order of blender bottles. And we ultimately, decided it was Vincent did the budget. So he knew the numbers. I was doing more marketing. So I'm arguing, hey, I think we need new blender bottles to keep this rolling. He's like, we don't have the money. And so ultimately we decided man, what if we just did come in for a free shake, like a free protein shake or pre-workout or whatever. And we did that. And that has been in place for 6 years now.
It works great.
And it works even better than what we had prior, because it like you said, it actually lets them try something in the store and it actually get the Triad experience. We get to talk about the products. It gives us a second to get to know you a little bit.
Find out what you're looking for and need. It's
a call to action to get you in the store in the first place, but no incentive. There's no strings attached. You don't have to buy anything. And most people don't.
Yeah.
But it is a way for us to truly show you what we're all about.
Absolutely. And I think that's hopefully I didn't give away too many trade secrets.
It's in the spirit of being transparent, man.
Right.
That's something that is very, as far as I know, unique to us.
Right.
That it developed that to become that. And as far as I know, is original. I don't know anybody else that does it. So
well, I think a really important aspect of it though is and why it works for us and might not work for somebody else. And maybe, not to give advice or anything, but maybe that's if you're selling products and not experiences, it's not going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because
that's true.
Because you're trying to sell products, and don't get me wrong, we're happy to sell products, but we're selling experiences. Mm-hmm. And this is the call to action to just get you to come in. When that happens, I can still be, as somebody who runs stores on a day-to-day basis, is I'm happy if you come in, get a free shake and buy nothing. I still feel as successful as if you bought something, because what am I giving you? The experience.
Yeah.
I can still provide you the entire experience, even if you didn't get anything today. And that's the things I found people who were more excited about Triad that hadn't bought a single thing from us, because they came in and had just a genuinely good experience. And again, it's setting the employees that the company has in place to be successful if they just follow that. Just worry about that.
I mean, I think that's a good point too, that all marketing doesn't work for everybody. There's a million ways to market your business, and just because it works for us doesn't mean it'll work for your type of business.
Right.
Even if you're in the same industry, it may not work for you because you just don't have the same model. Right. And it goes along with how many times, especially if you're a small business owner, how many ads do you get on Facebook of maybe more in the past than they have, but like talking about ClickFunnels and like you should run your social media ads like this, and like how big of a thing that became,
right.
And like how many people did that with little to no success,
right?
Because they, you know, either weren't doing it right for them or in a way that worked for them, or just that strategy wasn't going to work for them at all. Like
right.
we saw a lot for a long period of time, little to no success with our social media ads. Ryan's taken over now, so it's a different story. But yeah, it's like you're told over and over again, you need to be doing this. It's like, well, does it make sense for your business? Right. There's a select, like, you know, maybe 3 to a dozen things that are going to work for you. And there's a million out there, and you just have to figure out which ones are going to work for you, because so many of them are not.
Yeah, right. I mean, if I have a taco truck, I don't think I'm going to be, I don't know if free taco flyers is going to be the best thing for, like, sure, it might be giving people to come, but it's like, but it's one of those where it's like, sure, you get to experience the food then, and it might be really good, but it's like, but again, you have less opportunity to have the same experience as we do of having people within like 4 walls. So, well, Ryan gave me the 2-hour notice a little bit ago.
I didn't see it.
Yeah. It's all right. I don't think we've gone anything crazy. So, but this was a good one. I liked this one. I think we covered a lot of good topics. Yeah. I'm excited to see what people think. Kevin, you have anything before I close this out?
No, I'm good, man.
Right.
I did some further math on the sample events.
Oh, here we go.
78 days of sample table if each sample event is 3 hours.
Whoa.
78 straight days.
That's and that's only for 3-hour events too.
Yeah. Sometimes they're longer. Sometimes they're like, there's some that are like 12 hours long.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I was at mine for 8 on my last Saturday.
We're going to get to the point.
My last event.
We're going to get to the point where we average a year of sampling. Like we'll average, like we are never not sampling essentially.
Right. Yeah. Like it might not, they might stack up differently, but essentially if it was tagged table end to table end, it'd be a full, we were sampling at all times.
If we were a train, we would wrap around the world 2 times.
We sample so much, our tables could go to the moon and back. Well,
I think that's a good note.
Yeah, I think so too. Guys, really appreciate it. We continue to get really awesome feedback. We're excited to see kind of the guests that we continue to have. Plus, I really enjoy the ones when it's just us as well. Yeah. But we're excited to keep going, and we appreciate everybody who takes the time to tune in. So
I'm still genuinely enjoying these. So, and I hope you guys are too, and especially if you've listened to all 6 and have made it this far, 2 and some odd hours in. Really genuinely really appreciate you, and genuinely appreciate anybody that's posted or told their frimes or anything like that too. It's been very, very helpful.
Reason why we keep doing it.
Yeah. I'd still be doing this if no one was listening, because I have fun. So.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Thanks,
guys.